All right. Shout out to my VIPs. Drop a 0.44 if you can hear me, if you can see me. All right. All right, love it, guys. Love it. Michelle, good to see you in here. Thank you for the kind words about monetize. 0.44. Beautiful. Amazing. Well, I hope you guys have had a very blessed weekend thus far. And we're about to make it a hell of a lot better. All right, cool. All right, Quentin, appreciate the kind words. All right, well, guys, just a little bit about today. We got another amazing presentation. And after that, is it okay if I give you guys a little bit of a gift? Made my first 10 sales on Monetize. That makes me very happy to hear. Congratulations. Yeah, guys, let me know if it's okay if I give you a little bit of an extra gift today. Let me know if that's okay with you guys. Yep. Wayne says, yep. Amazing. Yes, hell yes. Hell yeah. Yeah, why not? All right, well, today we are going to give you a whole extra hour of training. So congratulations, because we have no main session today, we decided to make the main session actually a 2-hour VIP. So I'm going to get into this. We have about a 30-minute, 25-minute presentation on Canva. Then I'm going to call the giveaway winners. So the FaceTime and the MacBook giveaway winner. Then Jason and I are going to do a little bit of a open Q&A for about 15, 20 minutes. And then after that, Jason is actually going to take the floor. And you guys are going to have a full 1 hour with Jason, where he's going to answer a bunch of questions. And, it's just, obviously sometimes we love to like see each question and go over each question one by one. It's just the main chat, like things are going so quickly. So today, we thought we would do an extra 1 hour with Jason. All right. Cool. Perfect. Well, I'm glad you guys are happy to hear that. And also just a heads up, tomorrow we have one bonus main session, one final main session. I don't know if you guys saw that announced. Just to give you guys a bit of context as to what we are doing tomorrow. Tomorrow is, we've been getting a lot of questions. People want to make a lot of money with digital products, and we have some very in detail training today about digital products specifically, but we're getting a lot of people who are like, hey, I want to make money with digital products, but I actually don't even want to create a digital product myself. And there is a specific way where you can basically get one yes, and that one yes can pretty much fund your entire lifestyle. So trust me, you will want to watch tomorrow's session. Obviously, everything we've applied thus far, it's not a different model. It's just a slightly different way in order to execute everything we're teaching here. So what we're teaching tomorrow isn't something different. It's just a slight tweak. It's like a slight variation. And as I said, it's a slightly different way that you could approach it if it better suits your style, if it better suits your strengths and capabilities. So yeah, with that, let's get into it. So welcome to VIP session 6. This is the penultimate session of the MMOC 2.0 VIP sessions. And I just want to start by thanking every single one of you. The fact that we are 5 sessions in, this being our 6th session, and you are still here, still committed, that says a lot about who you are and the potential you have to succeed. Commitment is something that cannot be taught. So in today's session, is one that I've been looking forward to all week. The reason why today's session stands out to me personally is because it's a part of digital products that I love talking about the most, and that is strategy. No BS, no fluff, just anticipating problems that are likely to arise. If they don't arise, that's great as well, but still, it's nice to anticipate them, and it's nice to be prepared for them regardless, all right? In the process of selling a digital product and solving them before they even occur. So before we get into that, I have a big announcement to make during tomorrow's VIP session. I'll be sending you one final challenge, and the prize is a big one. One lucky winner will receive an all expenses paid trip to Dubai for an exclusive private dinner with me in person. Obviously, we've given away 5 FaceTime calls already. We've given away 5 MacBooks already. Giving away the 6th one of both of those today. You guys got Alchemy of Self. Obviously, you got 5 bonus sessions thus far, and 6th one today, 7th one tomorrow. So the only other thing for us to do is, this one winner who will receive an all expenses paid trip to Dubai for an exclusive dinner with me in person. So after the live session, we will be hosting a final main session live on YouTube. To be eligible to win the final challenge, you must attend the VIP session and the main session tomorrow. Today, as always, I'll be calling the winner of today's VIP challenge and announcing the final challenge towards the end of the session. But for now, I just want to get straight into some of the strategies to help you sell as many digital products as possible. In today's session, I'm going to be breaking down the 3 biggest barriers that will stand in the way of you making sales with your first digital product. But I'm not just going to talk about what these barriers are. I'm also going to show you how to actually overcome them, so that way you can maximize your chances of success in this industry. These barriers are universal, okay? They impact beginners, my 7-figure clients inside of my advisory business Quantum. And to this day, some of these things even impact me, okay? The reason why I've had so much success in this industry is because I was able to recognize these barriers and strategically overcome them. That is how I became ungovernable. That is what today's session is all about. I'm gonna show you the strategies that I still use to this day to stay on top in this industry. Now, before we can even think about overcoming these barriers, you need to know what they actually are. At their core, they're really just mental blockers that your future buyers will have before they buy your digital product. All of us have experienced these, okay? You know that feeling when you really want to buy something, but just before you're about to pay, you start looking for reasons why you shouldn't buy, all right? We all have this. Well, people who buy digital products, they go through the exact same thing. It's usually one of these or a combination of these 3 different mental blockers: money, time, or not for me. You see, these 3 mental blockers, these are the 3 barriers that stand between you making thousands, even tens of thousands selling digital products, or never even making a single sale. When it comes to money, okay, the money barrier is the most common one that you're going to face. The fear of investing in something and not getting the desired result or any at all. Time, okay, the second barrier is time. Another barrier that always arises, this is the belief that there isn't enough time to get the maximum value from the product, or not for me. The third and final one is the not for me justification. The belief that those who succeed have a competitive advantage that they don't have. Let's be honest, these are pretty acceptable concerns to have, okay? Your future customers don't want to invest their hard-earned money into something that they don't believe will get them the result that they desire. When it comes to time, everyone has the belief that life will slow down and they will have a time at a later stage, which obviously never actually happens. Potential customers will always use time as a cop-out, and you can't control that, but you can control the way you position your products, so that way potential buyers feel secure that they will be able to reap the benefits of your digital product. More about that in just a second. And lastly, if a potential buyer believes that the product is made for someone who has advantages that they don't, they will naturally rethink the purchase. It doesn't matter who you are. If you get into the world of digital products, you will be faced with these barriers. I wish I could sit here and tell you that it's smooth sailing and everyone is going to buy your digital product without a second thought. But unfortunately, that's not how things work, okay? Some of you guys might hear that and start to feel a bit stressed, but you should feel the exact opposite, okay? Common problems are great problems. Here's why. There are 2 types of business problems that you can face. There's unexpected problems, okay? Problems that suddenly come up without warning and without expectation. And then there's predicted problems. These are inevitable problems that you're already aware of, okay? So what you're aware of, what you anticipate, it can't hurt you because you can prepare for it. That's the beauty of this, okay? And I think one of the reasons I've actually been, moderately successful in life, one of my biggest strengths, I would say, is actually my ability to think worst case scenario, but without stressing myself out. What I mean by that is I just spend a lot of time just mentally preparing for the worst case, or what if things don't work out, or what if this thing breaks, or the thing I do as well a lot of time with myself is I always play devil's advocate. I'm like, okay, I'm making this offer, I'm presenting this thing, I'm making this argument, I'm making this presentation, and I just imagine myself, like I play devil's advocate with myself, and I imagine myself in the position of a buyer, okay, or a client, and just poking holes in my argument. And when you do this, it's almost like your arena to practice. Your mind is almost an arena to practice, but it's this very fine line, because if you always think about the worst case scenario, sometimes you need to know what kind of person you are. Sometimes that can actually stress you out. So I'm one of those people that can predict problems. I know problems are about to rise, and I actually think everyone has a different philosophy on things. My personal philosophy is you attract what you're afraid of. Some people think that you attract what you think of. I personally don't believe that. When it comes to law of attraction and manifestation and whatnot, I actually believe that you attract what you're afraid of. So when you no longer fear something, it actually, when you no longer fear something, it can't hurt you. And I find that the people that are most afraid of this thing happening or that thing happening or that thing happening, when they have that emotional attachment to it and that emotional frequency, they actually end up attracting the thing that they're most afraid of, the thing that they try to think of the least. So that's just my personal opinion. Obviously, everyone has their own viewpoint. But I guess the point here is that unexpected problems are a nightmare because they require immediate action without having a set strategy in place. Predicted problems are problems are bound to come up. Okay, this is exactly what you want because it gives you the opportunity to implement a proactive strategy that will often lead to these problems having no impact on you at all. In fact, by proactively solving these problems, it can become a competitive advantage. I think you guys have a good understanding of the three barriers at this point. Money, okay, potential buyers have the fear that they will invest but fail to get the desired result from the digital product. Time, potential buyers don't believe that they have sufficient time to get the desired result from the digital product, or not for me. Potential buyers believe they lack a certain trait or competitive advantage they need to get the desired result from the digital product. Now it is time to start putting a strategy in place to overcome these, and I think it is best to start with the most common one of the three, which is money. Okay, in order to overcome this barrier, you need to reframe the way you actually look at the problem. If I asked a group of beginners, everyone thinks my digital product is too expensive. What do you think I should do? Okay, most would just say, oh, drop the price. Okay, that's the initial reflex, that's the initial first thought. It's interesting. I have actually seen this have the opposite effect. When you're shopping online and you come across two similar products, but there's a substantial price difference between them. When you start doubting the quality of the cheaper one because it's too cheap, okay? Sometimes when something's cheaper, it actually puts you off buying it even more, okay? Same thing happens with digital products. If you drop the price too low, your potential buyers start doubting the quality. What if I told you the money barrier has nothing to do with the amount you charge at all? What if I told you that one of your close friends or family was wrongly convicted and was about to be sentenced to 20 years in jail? You consult the best attorney in the country and he says he could get your loved one out with ease, but this attorney's rate is $10,000 for a day in court. Would you say, no, that's too expensive? You would do anything you could to get the $10,000 you needed because the value of the problem being solved is worth it to you, okay? Money is obsolete in that case, okay? Money in that case is no longer an objection because the value of the problem being solved is worth it for you. That right there is the key to overcoming this barrier. It has nothing to do with the price itself, but it has everything to do with the perceived value of the product and the problem it solves. So, how do you create a digital product with a high enough perceived value so that the money barrier does not impact your sales? Well, you overcome this obstacle at the very start, even before you build the product itself. It is about solving the right problem for the right audience. Remember the example I used earlier? The bigger the problem, the more valuable the solution. You need to build a digital product that solves the biggest problem you possibly can for a very specific audience. When I say big problem, what does that actually mean? How do we actually measure this? Well, it's simple. It's just a problem that cannot be ignored. A problem that impacts someone every single day and starts to get worse as time passes. And this is why products linked to any form of making money, as in improving your financial capabilities, improving health, improving relationships, perform so well. Just so you guys understand, there's we call them soft offers and hard offers in marketing. Like a soft outcome, you guys, I feel like you understand what I mean when I say a soft outcome. It's up in the air, okay? It's intangible. It's like a nice to have. Like, it's the same thing when you're setting goals and you're setting a goal and you're like, I would like to be better at speaking, okay? Whereas, I want to get better at public speaking compared to how to be presentation ready so that way you speak like XYZ person within 42 days or less. Like that's hey, I'm going to achieve this accomplishment, which is being able to speak as if you are a, world renowned orator in X time frame. Like that's a very specific thing. Okay. That's a hard offer. That's a hard as in that's a tangible outcome in a tangible time frame compared to a soft offer, which is it's a nice to have. You're just going to be a better speaker. Okay. There's no clear cut result there. Okay. Now, if you're broke and you can't pay the bills, you can't ignore that. If you're suffering from chronic back pain and it's impacting your ability to perform everyday tasks, it can't be ignored. If you're struggling to communicate with your partner, leading to constant disagreements and fighting, once again, this can't be ignored. The more frequently the problem's impact is felt, the more desperate people become to solve them, and therefore the more valuable the solution becomes. The problem you choose to solve is very important, but only the one side of the equation. The other side is who are you going to solve this problem for? This is equally important when it comes to perceived value. Let me explain what I mean. Let's imagine you decide to create a digital product that helps individuals improve their time management skills. Who would view their poor time management skills as a bigger day-to-day problem? A retiree working on a few DIY projects at home, or a small business owner responsible for a variety of tasks in their business? It's obvious, right? Okay. The result of poor time management for the retiree is that a few of his DIY projects will take a little bit longer than expected. The result of poor time management for a small business owner is exponentially more severe. Your digital product will make a lot more sales if it focused on helping small business owners instead of DIY retirees, because despite solving the same problem, the solution is more valuable to a particular segment of the market. Now, I know many of you guys are watching this right now and your minds are racing, thinking of big problems to solve and who would be the best audience to solve them for. I get it. It can be a tricky process to figure this out all out on your own. And that is the whole reason why we built Synthesize AI. Synthesize AI has the ability to identify big problems and connect them to segments of the market where the perceived value of the solution is at its highest. It takes a variety of things into account: the frequency of the problem, the number of people who experience this problem, and how quickly this problem can be solved. It then dives into different market segments, measuring a variety of metrics. Measuring the consequences of the problem not being solved, the willingness of each market segment to pay for a solution, and even the buying power across market segments. Now, once Synthesize has investigated thoroughly, it actually provides you with 20 options of digital products that solve specific problems for specific segments of the market. This eliminates all the guesswork on your part and ensures that your product will have a high perceived value. This strategically eliminates the money barrier before you even launch. Of course, you will need to make sure that your marketing is good, but it is so much easier to create quality marketing assets when your product has a high perceived value. For our monetized users, this is the simplest part. All you need to do is basically just take the information from Synthesize, plug into Ghostwriter, and you have all the marketing assets you need to make sales. Copy for your landing page, your conversion script, your offer, all done for you. Increase the perceived value of your digital product by creating a solution for the right problem for the segment of the market that needs it the most. Then you increase the desire for your product with high quality marketing assets. The money barrier will never be a problem again. That being said, it doesn't have that much of an impact on the time barrier. Okay. In most cases, potential buyers who are experiencing time as their mental block already believe in the value that the digital product can provide, right? They believe that the value is there, but that they don't have the time to extract that value. So how do you overcome this barrier? Unfortunately, you can't make someone's life less busy, but you can optimize your digital product for fast consumption and easy implementation. And this is where the product format comes into play. Imagine you were desperate to learn how to code, but you happen to be in one of the busiest periods of your life. Maybe your job is taking up a lot of your time. Maybe there have been significant changes in your personal life. The point is, you lack time. If you were presented with an opportunity to learn how to code, but you had to attend daily lectures, you had long-form projects to complete, and you needed to read through a 500-page textbook, you would probably pass on that opportunity on the basis that you don't have the time. But if that opportunity was presented in a way where you would receive a concise 30-page booklet with all the key information you needed to learn the basics of coding, you would jump at the opportunity because you would be able to get the results you want in a fraction of the time. You need to focus on creating a product that yields results in days and not months. By creating digital products in a quick win format decreases the time barrier, okay? It feels less of a long-term commitment, and not having the time never feels like a valid excuse in that scenario. There are so many examples of quick win formats for digital products, especially non-expert ones. You've got templates, you've got challenges, you've got ebooks. These are all perfect examples of quick win formats that work perfectly for audiences that are generally short of time. If your product helps new parents, single moms, busy professionals, anyone who is known for lacking time, you need to make sure that your digital product serves their needs. And one of those needs is the time in order to consume it. I already knew this barrier existed, so the team and I actually built these different formats inside of Synthesize, eliminating this barrier for all of our users from the start. So when our users build their products in a quick win format, the time barrier should never be a problem. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but even Monetize itself is built in a quick win format. If you look at Monetize on a larger scale, we eliminate the time barrier in a very similar way, okay? We could just teach you guys how to build a digital product from scratch, teach you all the fundamentals of writing marketing copy, and then package that into a 50-hour course and give it to our users. And we could say, hey, This is $1,995, and there you go. Here's all the information, okay? But we know that people are busy and don't have all day to build products from scratch. So that is why we built the software and the tools and licensed as well the software and the tools that turned Monetize into a quick win digital product. So we actually follow these same principles ourselves. Tools that allow you to make as many products as you want in a fraction of the time. All the marketing is done for you. No need to spend months learning the skills and writing hours of content. These tools eliminate the time barrier. I don't think, okay, that there are many of you guys sitting here who have 3 to 6 months free to build a digital product with resources and all the marketing materials from scratch and do it yourself, okay? All of you, though, have 45 minutes to create a digital product with our software and our tools. But the product itself isn't the only way to overcome the time barrier. The way you position it from a marketing standpoint also plays a very pivotal role, okay? You do this by combining lifetime access and urgency. By marketing the product at a reduced price for a limited amount of time or members while making clear that buyers get lifetime access, you also eliminate the time barrier. Potential buyers who are busy at that time will invest with the intentions of using the product at a later stage just to avoid paying more in future. Now, our Monetize users make a use of this strategy frequently because Ghostwriter creates the content to drive urgency, and WAP also allows you to create lifetime products as well as change the price whenever you like. Now, at this point, you have a clear strategy to overcome the money and time barriers. With the right product and marketing, these barriers shouldn't be a problem. But what about your future buyers who believe they don't have the unique edge that others have in order to get the outcome they desire? I'll be honest, this is the one that I've struggled with the most, the not for me justification, because I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Just because I struggle with this one the most doesn't mean you have to. In fact, this is actually your competitive edge over me. You guys really need to understand this. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, claiming that I don't have certain competitive advantages that many of you guys don't have yet, okay? It's true. I do have a big audience, and of course, there's an advantage, but everything has its pros and cons. My audience is made up of people from all walks of life, different genders, different age profiles, different countries, different stages of their lives, of their careers. This means that I need to create a digital product that caters to the needs of so many different people to overcome this barrier, okay? I think my team and I have managed to achieve it, but it really wasn't easy to get to this point. But despite what I think, there will always be people in my audience to look at the people getting life-changing results from my products and say things like, yeah, but they're young and tech savvy, or but they live in the United States, or but they probably got lucky. The truth is, because I have such a diverse range of people buying and succeeding with my products, it's easier for potential buyers to find an excuse of why it won't work for them. It is impossible for me to market and cater to one exact buyer profile. And that's the most powerful. And that is, you guys will actually have much better conversion sales. Like your digital product will actually sell better than mine because mine has to appeal to a wider market, whereas you can just be so specific and hone in on people that have already raised their hands and gone, okay, well, I want this kind of product. So all you need to do is they're going to search this product up, or an example where we talk about partnering with micro influencers and micro creators and getting them, giving them a rev share. They already have the audience. They already have the audience. They already have the traffic. All you need to do is create the product, okay? And you just need to monetize their traffic. You're basically like ethically tapping into their traffic. That's really your competitive advantage. An advantage that, as I said, I don't have because I have to be broader. Selling directly to a very particular segment of the market. You know that feeling when you're watching an ad and the ad basically lists the exact person the product is for? When you hear the ad listing all of those traits to the point where it almost feels like they are speaking directly to you. Well, that is how you overcome this barrier, by creating ultra specialized digital products. ZTH training, Harrison Habis's digital product. Remember the cousins from the pre-challenge call who created a digital product to help aspiring footballers to get into professional academies. If you were an aspiring football player trying to go pro, you would see this product and feel like it was made exactly for you. It is specific. It was made for young men who already play football, who just need a little bit of extra help to make their dreams of becoming a pro come true. Harris and Habis have eliminated the not for me barrier. Just like the money and time barriers, Synthesize AI and Ghostwriter also helps users overcome this barrier as well, and they become your advantage. When Synthesize finds profitable digital product topics, it will never suggest broad topics like fitness, make money online, or dating. Those topics are so broad and are dominated by huge players in the digital product game. The smaller players are left fighting for the crumbs in oversaturated markets. It doesn't make sense, okay? So to avoid this, Synthesize will find sub-niches and unique value zones. So actually the third layer, if you guys hopefully were paying attention and remember from some of our previous sessions, we talk about the third layer theory and unique value zones. And it's going to tap into those rather than, the red oceans, the where the saturated markets where the messaging has to be broader to appeal to more people, but that also means, as I said, it's much harder to sell. Synthesize will go ahead and it will find untapped markets that are in desperate need of products and that solve a specific problem but are criminally underserved. Not only does this make your product the go-to solution in that segment of the market, it also eliminates any feeling of a product not being tailored for your exact target market. And to really drive that feeling home, Ghostwriter will make all that will take all that information from the Synthesize and write all the marketing copy that you need to seal the deal. Headlines, descriptions, conversion scripts, everything your future buyers will be looking at before pulling the trigger. Ghostwriter will identify all the sequences of leaving the problem you're solving unsolved and use that in a compelling way, almost making sales inevitable once they hit your sales page. When an ultra-specific digital product is backed by an elite-level marketing strategy, the not-for-me barrier will crumble and will become an irrelevant barrier in your digital product journey. Now, to end off today's session, I just want to give you some advice I wish someone had given to me when I had first started in this market and in this industry. All digital product businesses are fundamentally the same at their core, regardless of how successful they become. I want you to think about the biggest, most successful digital product businesses kind of like a Formula One car, okay? At its most basic level, a Formula One car is still a car, okay? It has an engine, a steering wheel, brakes, and 4 wheels, the same essentials that you see with any car on the road. The difference between these two cars isn't the fundamental parts they have. It's that every single part of the Formula One car has been engineered and optimized to perform at the highest possible level. Digital product businesses are the exact same, okay? They all face the same 3 barriers, but the way that they have optimized their systems is truly what sets them apart. Those are the systems that we have built inside of Monetize. Tools like Synthesize and Ghostwriter act like Formula One engineers for your digital product business, taking the same essential components everyone has and tuning them to the highest level so that way you can overcome the barriers and accelerate faster. After today's session, you know exactly what to expect before taking the plunge into the world of digital products. And more importantly, you know how to strategically overcome the barriers you are bound to face before you even face them. There is power in that, so make sure you use it to your advantage. Now, getting on to the VIP giveaway. Today's VIP giveaway is very simple. Seeing as tomorrow is our final giveaway, I want to get some feedback. I want you to head over to the final giveaway chat, and I want you to list your 3 biggest lessons you have learned during the challenge session, either from VIP or the general sessions. After the 3 lessons, I want you to answer this questions. Have I committed 100% during the Make Money Online Challenge 2.0? I want you to post your 3 biggest lessons from the challenge and answer this question honestly. The team and I will read through all of the replies and we will pick tomorrow's winner. Speaking of winners, I have a phone call to make to our MacBook winner, which I have on my phone over there. When I make that call, hopefully we get a response. I think it was the last session or the session before that? We had one fail. Yeah, I think it was the session before that, day 4. We had 1 failed ring and then 1 that nearly got to the end. So I'm going to ask you password. Password for today is Shadow. And also today's FaceTime winner is Caitlin from Australia. So Caitlin from Australia, I look forward to having our conversation either later today or maybe based on your time zone, maybe tomorrow makes a little bit more sense. But regardless, Caitlin, I look forward to having a conversation with you. So to finish things off, it is time for some Q&A. Jason will be up in any second. We're going to bounce around, take a look at some of the questions. And while I do that, I will also make a call to the giveaway winner. And as I said, Jason and I will do some Q&A for about 20 minutes or so. And then after that, I'm going to give Jason the floor and he's going to get some time to spend one-on-one with you guys. And yeah, you get a 1 hour extra VIP training session today because there's no general session, our little gift to you. So yeah, let's get into it. What up, what up?
Yo, I'm back. I'm back in the building.
There we go, there we go.
Nice.
W. Jason.
Heck yeah, I like that. There we go. We got a call to make?
We do indeed.
Nice.
Let's see. All right, giveaway winner. So the giveaway VIP MacBook winner day 6, it is Alexander A. Alexander A. Big congratulations. let's give you a call and hopefully, hopefully we get an answer. That was quick. That was quick.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we are serious. Congratulations.
I think I know the question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what's the answer?
It's Shadow.
Shadow. Yes, sir.
Nice.
Big congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. Team.
I'm so happy. That's crazy, man.
I think that might have been the quickest pickup ever from a phone call. So, yeah, man.
The phone was near me, and
No, I love it. I love it. Yeah, big congratulations, and we'll reach out for all the details.
thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, bro. Cheers. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Dang, that was awesome. He was ready to win.
He was ready. He was on the ball. All right, all right. Let's see.
How can we increase conversion rate if we don't have any traffic? I lost it. And zero audience other than influencer arbitrage. The best way you can increase conversion out of the gate is just to make the product more narrow. I was listening to what Imam was just saying. If we sell like dog training programs, whatever, but if we sell a specific breed of a dog training program to a specific audience type with a specific methodology or modality or what have you, and we lower the price point initially, we will get an increase in conversion rate. Now, we don't cash conversion rate in at the bank. So it's a balance between most profit per sale versus highest number of conversions. One thing that will be useful is once you get your first customers who can then give you testimonials, then you put those on your product pages, and then your conversion rate will increase even further. But that's kind of, unless you're already doing this business, as cart before horse, in my opinion. Just get a product out there and get a baseline conversion, and you'll be probably pretty surprised at how good it will be right away.
Yeah, so also just building on that, there's obviously influencer arbitrage, that's one. And then number two, there's marketplaces. Listen, WAP is a marketplace. There's people that get organic sales from WAP, but even though, you know, I wrote a very, very large check to be a co-owner in WAP, like my number one focus is to make sure that you guys get results, whether that's using WAP as a marketplace, whether that's using Udemy, whatever platform you want to host it on. My priority, you know, of course, I would love to see you selling on WAP. That's pretty much the only that's why we put this whole thing together. So that way we can make sure that you guys have the best tools possible. You know, WAP can keep hitting record-breaking months and keep growing. But main priority is making sure that you guys succeed. So as I said, whether that's and especially as my VIPs, whether that's, you know, selling on Udemy, whether that's selling on WAP, whatever platform, you know, whatever marketplace platform, you can tap in to these marketplaces, and especially using something like Ghostwriter, you can get very, very good with your copy. So those are influencer arbitrage marketplaces. And the other, and you guys, I definitely recommend you guys tune in tomorrow, is there's a way that's a different form. And I guess I just want to bring it back to pricing, just so you guys understand. We're not selling $3,000 digital products here. We're not selling $1,000 digital products here. We're not even selling $500 digital products here. We're selling digital products anywhere from $7 all the way up to about $200, okay? And that is impulse purchase territory, okay? And by the way, that's in every business. Like even, for example, at my eyewear company, we were doing some pricing tests and whatnot, and we basically have made it as expensive as possible before it no longer is impulse buy territory. So these our eyewear is priced at $160. We find past $160, that's actually a decision people need to make. Like that's not on the spot decision. Whereas anything really under 160 with digital products, of course, you know, the thing is, well, I guess these are blue light blockers, so this is a little different. With blue light blockers, there's a benefit, but you know, with our sunglasses, there's no like,
Yeah.
you know, there's not like, it's not improving your life, so it's harder to put an ROI to it. So with digital products, you can make it a little bit more expensive. So I think that's the other thing that you guys just always need to remember. Our digital products are cheaper price points, they're things that people look at, and it's a split purchase decision. It's not something they need to sit, worry, fret over. Okay, so we're not telling you guys to sell $3,000 digital products or $5,000 digital products at a 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 price point. These are things that people are just buying impulse, and they're like, oh, this is a nice to have, or you know what, this might solve my problem. And yeah, just so you guys understand. And now tomorrow, we're going to show you a different method where if you get one yes, like literally if you get one yes, that could be 10,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, 300,000, 500,000, maybe even a million. Obviously, you know, not likely, but you know, there's, you know, people that,
it's not impossible.
Not impossible. There's people that hit those sort of numbers. Tomorrow we'll show you another way to make money from digital products, where if you get one yes, you'll be able to hit those sort of numbers, and you'll be able to attack digital products from a slightly different angle.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of questions related to like contacting influencers and trying to get traffic that way. Some of it's a numbers game, so you don't expect to find it the first 50 or 60 or 80 people that you contact, because there's so many variables in place that will affect that if there's a deal to be made there. Now, in the session tomorrow, we're going to go very specifically on some of those strategies exactly, but I'm just bringing it up because I saw so many questions. The most likely thing is nobody ever responds to any message whenever they get it, like from somebody that they don't know. That's just a natural order of things. So to expect otherwise is to set yourself up for disappointment. So it's, who are you contacting? What message are you sending? And what's the frequency of messaging that you're performing at? Like, if you really need to make money, you should overdo it. If you think it would take 100 contacts, you should plan on 1,000. Or if you think it takes you 25 contacts, you should plan on 250 contacts. Because I would rather err on the side of doing too much and be wrong than err on the side of doing too little and be right, because too little is no result. And then just know that it's not something necessarily that you're going to nail right away because it's new to you. But in this particular instance, this effort, if it lands, it could pay off really big, which is awesome. I'm a kind of 2-for-1 guy. I like to take two strategies that are different in nature and play them both at the same time. So I like to have, I love what you said earlier, Iman, on the VIP section about like if your fears are going to be the things that you attract in your life. And so until you get rid of your fears, they will follow you around in everything that you do. And it's crazy how that is. And then you tend to expand upon them. They actually begin to dominate your life, not just follow you around. And so I like to minimize the way in which things can go wrong, and then automatically the upside takes care of itself. So if I have an approach where I'm applying, a strategy over here where I'm working a partnership angle, I also want a separate strategy over here where I'm working a direct-to-consumer angle, if you will. And then I will just do both because, hey, I might find I like one more than the other, or one might be more suited to me, or one just might hit first. But when I'm starting out, I don't really have the luxury of being picky and being choosy. I just need to experiment with enough things until something hits, and then I can cancel the rest of that stuff, right? It's like, all of those of you who are married, you might have dated multiple people, but at least for me, when I fell in love, I called up every other girl. There was a couple of them, and I had to be like, no, I'm sorry, like I'm off the market, right? Like I found my one. And the same applies in business, where once you find that one winning strategy, you can cancel the rest. Now, you don't have to be monogamous in your digital marketing strategies, although I would suggest it in your mating rituals, but nonetheless, play the field and try a couple different strategies. AI allows you to optimize for this. Prior to AI, it would be more difficult to run multiple strategies at the same time, but now with AI, you can optimize for multiple strategies.
Yeah, just so you understand, basically what AI has done when it comes to digital products, with the digital product before, it's basically the same as, AI is almost the same as what dropshipping did to e-commerce, okay? Because the thing is before, like, yeah, I said, I have multiple physical product businesses, I'm investors and others, like it actually takes time to create digital, physical products, right? So it takes, I might spend 3, 6, 12 months, depending on the physical product, actually getting a physical product made, the packaging, the branding, obviously a lot of money put into it as well, a lot of time, effort, all this stuff. And the God's honest truth is, it's usually very unlikely that your first product works. in anything in life, by the way, okay? Whether that's a physical product, whether that's a digital product, anything in life, it's very unlikely that your first product works. Now, the benefit is if your first product doesn't work and then you can just iterate like that and just spin up a new product, on the fly within 24 hours, then amazing. And that actually is one of the benefits of drop shipping is, okay, now all of a sudden you can pick a new product just like that. You're not married to one product, okay? Now, the only issue with drop shipping is obviously, there's a big risk, and I've seen it many, many a time. I've seen many people lose $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 burning ads, trying to validate product after product after product after product. And that's also, by the way, we spent $4 million in September on ads for our digital product. Like, I love spending money on ads for digital products. I'm a big proponent of it when you have a winning product, okay? But in order to validate the product, I'm not a big fan of it in the early stages because, it's risky. So once you find your winning digital product, there's no reason why, you can't build it further. Or, we've even had people inside Monetize that they sell something cheap on the front end and then they sell something more expensive on the back end. So they get a pool of buyers for cheap on the front end, and then on the back end, they have more advanced stuff, or they partner with someone and then that person teaches it and they're just the person that runs it.
That's a great point. That's actually my first big breakthrough in this business came that way. I had a product that I sold on the front end. It was $17 and it was 12 steps to teaching a process. And then my audience, here's a mathematical fact. 10% of your audience will pay for a premium upgrade if you present it to them. It's just like within your existing audience. So I go to my audience and say, hey, if you'd like me to coach you through this 12-step process as opposed to just having the ebook on it, I will, but it was actually 12 times as expensive as what I charged for the ebook, because I charged $17 for the ebook. I charged $197 for the coaching program. And a lot of people bought it right away. And I told them it's not going to be any different than what's in the thing that you just purchased. It's just going to be more hands-on with more examples and more depth. And it sold out faster and it made me more money than anything that I launched previous to that. And so the real value in this business is, again, once you hit a digital product on the front end, you can go parallel and you can also go vertical. So, if you sell salt, you can sell the pepper equivalent. If you sell the shoe, you can sell the sock equivalent. So this is the digital product version of that. What is the left shoe to the right shoe? But you can also go vertical because you can have more than one pair of shoes and there's different shoes for different occasions. And so you can sell a different version of the same product to the same audience, and some of them will invest more for the deeper version of the more particular or specific version to them as well. The hardest part in this business, and you just got to accept it and be okay with it, is getting that first digital product sale. That's why we really pound on this. That's why we don't use a lot of big numbers. I don't know if you've noticed during the challenge that we've launched here, we haven't hammered a big number as the big takeaway thing. I mean, occasionally we'll bring it up, but the whole premise here is if you can get one digital product that makes a single sale, then the rest of it kind of takes over and takes care of itself. So just think about that. The hardest thing is going to be, it was harder for me to make my first $100,000 than it was for me to make my first $1 million. To go from 100,000 to $1 million was easier than going from 0 to 100,000 for a variety of reasons. One, I proved to myself that I could do it. And there's a lot of until it's reality, how much you will censor and limit yourself, even though you don't have to. And then once I'd just seen it, all of a sudden these issues, I had a lot of them melted away. Secondly, I had momentum. Once it gets going, you can just keep it going. And it's easier to stoke a fire than to light a fire. And then third, it was really obvious to me what new products I should create and who I should sell them to, because I had people that had already paid me who were telling me the products to create. Now, we couldn't do this faceless back then. We couldn't do this with non-expert products. It was incredibly difficult. And now it's incredibly easy, and the marketplace just hasn't woken up to it yet. So these are just some of the things to consider.
And just a quick one, guys. I just want to address it once and then never again. This is VIP. We really do not like talking about VIP or pitching or anything. So I'm just seeing a bunch of questions. Is there going to be bonuses tomorrow? I just want to get this out the way, just so that way, is it okay, guys, if we just answer this question now? So then it's just for us personally in VIP, we just want to focus on providing as much value as possible. Tomorrow, there is going to be 2 bonuses. One bonus people have paid millions of dollars for at $1,000 price point, and there's another bonus that we had to pay to license that people paid millions of dollars for at a $3,500 price point. It might be $4,000. I know for sure it's at least $3,500. I just have to check with the team. Anyways, long story short, if you purchase today, okay, you will get it. Remember, we always reward the people who have purchased any new thing that gets announced. You know, as I said, we love action takers. So if you purchase today, you will get it tomorrow. Now, maybe you want to wait for the general session tomorrow to see what it is. But as I said, people have, you know, literally put their hard earned cash, millions and millions for both of those products. One of those products is one of ours personally. The other product is something that we had to pay a licensing fee in order to get access to. So yes, tomorrow there will be 2 mega bonuses. I just wanted to like get that out the way so that way we don't need to spend any time on monetize. And that's it.
Yeah, I saw those questions. So there are bonuses. They will be available. You certainly can acquire them if you wish to. And everybody's on the same leaderboard, but VIPs, you gotta have extra perks that the main people don't. So that's your value on the leaderboard for monetize. But yeah, we're trying not to sell monetize today. We're purely trying to answer questions unrelated to that, just in general, to be in line with VIP. And on that note, by the way, this is why I don't have anything in my shirt today, because it was not planned until I got over here. Your mom was like, "You want to do an hour?" I was like, "Let's go, baby." So it was unprompted, unplanned, just kind of spur of the moment.
An hour might be more, and you guys know what Jason's like. You guys might end up on here for like 6 hours.
An hour is relative. This is awesome.
You also over-deliver, Bloody Legends. Appreciate you. That's very, very kind, Aisha. Big love to you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, by the way, these tools can be used for other usages other than intended. So you can create a digital product is also a great bonus to a physical product business. Where if you're selling something,
listen up, please. This is massive, massive.
That's my magic trick, by the way. I go into work with a lot of companies, and they don't add digital products to their offerings. And then we bring in, source, license, create, conglomerate, whatever you want to call it, digital products on top of their businesses. So like say you're selling some sort of, skin serum that makes you look younger. You could create a digital product that you would curate like from 50 different women who look really young, much younger than they are, and interview them and get their secrets. And so when you buy the skincare product, you get this digital guide on, 50 women who are over the age of 50 who look like they're in their 30s for free. The digital deliverable component doesn't cost anything and adds massive value to the physical component. Like I sell extremely expensive consulting packages. And the way I get those deals is because the digital products that I sell create the deal flow for the high-end consulting services. And so you can use digital products in any offering. It doesn't have to be strictly, well, if I'm selling digital, it's only digital. This is a huge value add. And by the way, it doesn't have to be as a combination. If you are seeing somebody sell a physical product and you want to sell a digital product on the back end of it and you want to partner with them, we call that opportunity. So if people are selling like supplements, for example, and they're selling no educational component to go along with those supplements, that's a potential opportunity right there. So there's not a business alive that can't benefit from a digital product, like literally.
Funnily enough, I actually made an offer to buy a very substantial piece of a business. I guess without going, maybe anyone that knows me a little bit better might know who I'm referring to, but I have one of my dear friends. He owns one of the biggest journal brands in the world. They've sold millions and millions and millions and millions of journals. And I actually, funnily enough, I was a Russian Bonnier with him about 6 weeks ago in London. And I actually told him, listen, I'd like to buy a percentage of the business because I'm like, you guys are getting literally selling millions a year, or no, I won't disclose their numbers, but yeah, like well over 7-figure a year in journals. These people could be buying digital products on the back end of it, right? So if these people are buying journals, and by the way, these are like things to do more with improving yourself, bettering yourself, productivity, planning, all this sort of stuff. I'm like, this is such a perfect buyer pool. And I looked at that and I was like, this is, even though this is a physical product business, which is, I have some investments in those lanes and, I have my own, but generally I mainly stick to digital products and software. But I looked at it and I was like, here's an existing business, physical product business, that we can tack on a digital product element and we could increase the bottom line. Because the thing is, I'm sure as you guys know, with physical product businesses, top line is super high. Just to give you guys context, with any sort of physical product business, usually the net margins. So like, let's say, you see people and they're like, oh, I have a product brand and I make 10 million a year, like they're really only going to take home about 1.5 to 2 million of that, right?
Yep.
Normal margin. And by the way, that's good margin. 15 to 20%
is great. Yeah.
is great. You know, so like a lot of times they'll even be on 5% margin. So a business that does 10 million in top line, their net profit might only be 500,000 or a million. So, you know, I looked at that business and I was like, I said, I made an offer. I was like, listen, I would like to buy quite a considerable stake because I saw that and I'm like, we can increase the bottom line, even though, you know, maybe from a revenue perspective, the digital product side is only 20% or 30% what the physical product side is. But in terms of net profit, that could double or even triple the net profit. So that's an example right there where you can take physical product businesses and tack on a digital product component to it and increase the profitability by manyfold.
Yeah, that's a lot of gold right there. Somebody asked me a good question several times. Ozrin, I think was his name. It was like, we're told to test many different products fast and ASAP, but how will we do it fast if we need to contact so many influencers, check their stories, views, etc., how to scale, right? So let's use a little bit of the modeling that I talked about over the last few days. So the fifth session, we broke this down very specifically. So let's frame it in like, what would it take for you to figure out how to best contact enough people if you're creating multiple digital products and do this at scale? Like, what conditions would be ideal for that to occur? So what I'm doing is I'm shifting a problem that you're bringing to me into what we call the solution frame, right? So you have to make considerations. Like, we're teaching everybody everything we can on a broad spectrum. So we're going to show you every possible avenue and every consideration, and that's good. It's good that Iman and I do that for you. So we give you options and we reach, you know, because we're reaching thousands and thousands of people from all kinds of backgrounds and stuff. It is your job to then filter that through and delete what doesn't make sense to you and keep what makes sense to you. So if you are going to contact people, then you're going to say, well, how many people a day should I contact to feel like I'm accomplishing something? And if it's 10, then you say, okay, well, how much time do I want to allocate for that task? And if it's 2 hours, then there's your answer. I got to contact 5 an hour. That means 1 every 12 minutes. So I have to build a system that allows for me to uncover somebody worth contacting every 12 minutes. You feel me, right? Now, if you said I want to do this in 60 minutes, then the answer is I got to contact somebody every 6 minutes that fulfills that system. So it's whatever you want it to be, and both of those will have answers to it. So this is something you have to get in the habit of disciplining yourself to do. You assume that it can be done, and then you create the conditions on how it will be done, and then you test those conditions. And if those conditions come back overwhelmingly positive, congratulations, you just won. If they come back horrendously negative, congratulations, you're one step closer because we're going to try a different system. If they show promise, but they're not quite there yet, then we tinker, then we adjust, and we can try it again. So the iterative cycle is the difference I find between successful people and people that struggle more than anything. Like, we have to create something, test it, and then we're unlikely to be right with it immediately. So we have to adjust and we have to iterate on it. And this is always true. This is true in this very specific challenge that you're seeing right here. This is an iteration. This is one of several hundred or thousand iterations that we've performed over the life cycle of this challenge, which is an iteration of the previous challenge, which is an iteration of the previous challenge, right? Iterations don't end. In fact, they compound with success. But get in the habit of being okay with, hey, I'm going to try this out, I'm going to see what happens, and I'm going to make an adjustment. So we're giving you the best recipes, but then you have to determine which recipes you like the most to test, and then you have to adjust them to taste, because maybe you don't want as much salt in yours, or maybe you want some more of this other ingredient over here, or this thing won't work for you, but this other one will work for you. So this is how we navigate it. You have to filter the general advice we give here to your specific circumstance. Neither one is good enough. You need both. You need our advice here, plus you're filtering to your specific circumstance, and then the iterative feedback loop. This is one of the reasons, and this isn't a pitch for Monetize right now, this is in general why it's important for you to know that you should be investing in coaching, and you should be investing in ways to have somebody else help you with this feedback loop. A coach is an incredible asset that will A, hold you accountable to your plan, A, actually help you build your plan, B, hold you accountable to your plan, and C, give you feedback and help you accelerate and optimize the iterative process. And so this is why it just frustrates me so much, Iman, when people on the outside looking in, they're like, oh, why would anybody ever sell anything on like coaching and education and information?
I have a coach for literally everything. Yeah. I was with my tennis coach earlier today. literally any skill I have to learn. Like I'll give you a very stupid, funny example. I'm sure many of you guys know, my best friends, one of my best friends, Alex, who does all of our creative campaigns between all the different businesses. Alex is releasing a book soon, and like passing in conversation, one day I was like, yeah, and when we launch your book, I'll DJ. I'm the last person on earth that would ever fucking DJ. And I'm not into that stuff at all. And I was like, yeah, I'll DJ. And then like now, we've actually, our factory, I think production will be done with the production in 30 days. So a book should launch in about 6 weeks or so. And Alex, told me like a month ago, he's like, yeah, like you're going to, like you made a promise, like you're going to do a set. So I'm like, okay, I have about 6 weeks to learn how to DJ because I promised him. And like, I'm one of those people, if I make a promise, like I stick to it. And what I do, the first thing I did was I messaged my friends. I was like, guys, does anyone know a DJ coach? So now I literally have a coach to teach you how to DJ because I made this promise to him. And that's like, to me, like the ultimate shortcut. Now, and by the way, I actually even bought some courses.
Yeah.
I started off buying a course. So I bought the course and then I also got coaching as well. So like even to this day, like any skill I need to learn, I bought courses on 101 different things. Like I've even bought courses in digital products, infinite amount of digital products in the form of Kindle books. That's still a digital product. Sometimes I'll just buy like 5 or 10 books. Like I'll be like, oh, I want to get better at this specific thing. And I'll buy like 5 or 10 digital products on it and park it. I do it as well sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I'm busy right now, but I have this motivation. And I don't know if this is interesting for you guys or not, but sometimes when you get that, like, you're like, you know what? Now's the moment. Like now I feel compelled to do something. And when I get that feeling, I'm like, let me go find a bunch of digital products on this thing. Let me buy it now because I'm not going to get this feeling back again. And, I'll buy it and then I'll park it for like a time when, in my case, I am like genuinely very, very busy at times. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to lock in and capture this feeling right now. And I'm going to lock in and capture this feeling by making a commitment to this thing. And then in a week or 2 weeks, I'm going to come back to this. And now I already have a level of sunk cost, even though it's like, for me, I'm, in a fortunate position where it's a small amount of money, but still I'm like, I've made this commitment to myself. Like I've paid for this thing. So like, I have to follow through now. So, when you get that, like, it's true. Inspiration and motivation is fleeting. Okay. Inspiration and motivation is fleeting. So for me, whenever I have those like flurries of inspiration or motivation, or like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make something happen here. Like I try to lock that in whatever way you can. And by the way, that doesn't mean that you always need to throw down with your wallet, just like some commitment, like something where you're like, okay, I'm going to lock this in right now. So
that's a great point. Yeah.
So you trust me, you need coaches for everything. Okay. I had a coach last year. I spent $250,000 for 12 calls.
I bet it was worth it.
The funniest thing, that individual introduced me to one lawyer, and that was worth the entire thing.
Yeah,
I paid $250,000. I honestly, the God's honest truth is I used about 3 calls. The rest I didn't even use. I got an introduction to one lawyer, and that was more than enough for me for that very specific domain. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why we tend to sell these digital products, because we are consumers of these digital products. So it's easy for us to see the full sides of them. So think about that. If you've invested in digital products, bring that into when you sell digital products as well. That'll show up one way or another.
And sorry, real quick, guys. I will leave the stage now with Jason. Can you guys just flood the chat with love for Jason and W's and give him some energy, okay? Because I get the feeling Jason will keep going for hours and hours and hours, depending on how much you hype him up. So make sure you drop a bunch of W's for Jason, a bunch of love for Jason.
Dang, they all just skated.
There we go. And I guarantee if you keep the love going, Jason will, 1 hour will blend into 2, then might blend into... anyways, we'll leave you to it.
Thank you so much, my friend.
All right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow for the final and probably best session of VIP. And tomorrow's main session genuinely is, it's probably my favorite presentation of the whole thing, and you will want to see it, especially if it's always nice to get a different approach, and you can still get to the same destination, but maybe take a slight different detour. And I think, you'll find it very, very interesting. It's probably one of my favorites.
It's gonna be good.
We'll see you then.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Iman. He's the man that we're all here for, and he's brought us all together. What a wonderful time that we find ourselves in, isn't it? And I appreciate we have 2,111 of you right here on the call. Thank you for the W's as well. Game changer. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I wasn't dressed up today. I wanted to put another shirt on. I have a shirt tomorrow that says Yes Engineer that I'm like, should I wear that or not? Is that too on the nose? But we'll find out. I brought my laptop with me just in case I want to do any show and tells, because occasionally when we talk, it'll jar memory loose. And then if I have a reference point for it, I can bring it up and I'll show that to you. But otherwise, I don't have like a team clipping questions and feeding them here to me. I have your questions right here on the screen. So I certainly can look at them, but it's a little bit more difficult because it's just me today managing the questions. Where Givenchy, I do, the first date I ever went on with my wife, I had a Givenchy sweater on. So it's always, that's always near and dear to my heart. I typically keep it low key though, but occasionally, yeah. Hell yeah. And yeah, tomorrow's session is going to be cool. All right. So if I missed your question, go ahead and try to put it back in here as well. And I want to kind of coach you through. There was, I had a flight to catch around that time. Can we please upload the whole session? So we don't do whole sessions, but we do the whole main sessions. And so they're still on the channel, I believe, on Iman's YouTube channel. Yep. But yeah, everybody doesn't. And then the VIPs, you get those sessions as well. Also, you should do Alchemy Itself if you haven't. That's an incredible asset for the VIPs too. How do you get an audience without showing your face? Yeah. So there's so many ways that you can get an audience that there's probably more ways you can get an audience than you could count if you could count to 100. And I can I could list them all and name them all to you, and that may be useful, but I think is what would be most useful to you is thinking of what the structures and the strategies of getting audiences are. Here's how I personally solve for it. And this is just one of the many ways in which you can solve for how do I get an audience. I say, who is in pain right now? Where do they hang out at? And how can I get in front of them? So see the shift in how we view that? So it's not how can me, Jason Fladlin, find an audience. It's who is in pain, so the reference is on them, not on me. Where are they at, and how do I get in front of them so I can help them get out of the pain that they're currently in and currently experiencing? And this is how I solve all of mine. And when you're starting off, it's better to go for puddles, not oceans. So we can swim in oceans and we don't make much of a splash or a difference. But if we jump in puddles and ponds, we can make splashes. So this simply means that we narrow our audience initially at first. We find the smallest audience possible that we can go after, and we find out where they hang out, and then we show up where they hang out. So one of the places is Facebook groups, believe it or not. There's a lot of people with a shared interest that are in a community, that are in a group, that are struggling right now. And if you made a goal, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask everybody in this question, and then you put it in the chat if you feel that this would make sense to you. If every day you just tried to help 20 people with a question that they asked on Facebook and you provided an answer to them, if you did that every day for a month straight, and then only when they replied out to you asking for more help did you ever present them an offer, don't you think you would make money? Don't you think it would be more likely than unlikely that you would make money if every day you just answered 20 questions specifically on a very specific topic to a very specific audience, ask first with nothing to expect in return, and then based upon that service, don't you suppose some of them would want to know more about you? Don't you suppose some of them would click through and find your bio? Don't you suppose that some of them would DM you? Don't you suppose that some of them would go and research you and find your website? Don't you suppose that there would be a way where money would come to you? And yeah, isn't that funny, right? Isn't that interesting? So this is how I'm always solving for these problems. Now, with the proper AI, and I'm not talking ChatGPT, and I'm not talking Gemini, I'm not talking those kind of AIs. With the properly fine-tuned AI, you can answer those questions and be incredibly useful and be incredibly efficient. And it's never just AI, by the way, in my opinion, for now at least, right? If it gets to be just AI, we got bigger problems than making money, boys and girls. So for me, it's AI plus a little bit of that personalization, plus a little bit of that touch sprinkled on top of it, plus just a little bit of fine-tuning. Not much, but just a tiny, tiny little bit. I think that we would be good. And then we have a problem, right? And our problem is scale. We're like, okay, well, we can't do that forever. We'll get burned out. So then we say, how do we do that a little bit more efficiently? And then it's really fun because then that's when you can start to make deals with the audience owners, people that own the audiences, especially if you've proved in advance your worth. You can start to advertise to those same people because now you know that you can answer questions they have and they like that. So when you advertise to them, you know what your advertising is going to be more responsive. You can now actually start creating content for the algorithms. So the questions you answered personally to individuals are the same base that can become the content that you create for the masses. Isn't that interesting, right? So people, and you probably have tried this. If you've created content and it hasn't went anywhere, it's because you didn't sanity check it first. You didn't actually put it in front of somebody and see what it did. You just threw it out there in the algorithm, and that's okay. Anything you put out there to try to get somebody to respond to it is a positive behavior, and you should continue to do as much of that as you humanly can. But if we validate it with good information on a personal level first, then we can quickly go global with it second. So local first, global second. This is my attitude on this thing. So when we work on the dozens contain the answer to the millions. So the dozens create get the answer to the millions. This is what I'm doing right here. I don't know if you've noticed this. One of the reasons that I've gotten so good in this business is because I have spent more time talking to individuals in my market than probably anybody. Like Iman jokes when he's like, "Oh, Jason, an hour to Jason." Yeah, he'll probably go more than an hour. But all good jokes contain truth, right? Like he knows that because I best understand the masses through the individual. I make my millions because I work with people on an individual level, and then I understand what I call the heartbeat of the market. Write that one down. This is like my secret sauce. Once I understand the heartbeat of the market, I pretty soon, for most of you, I know your problems better than you know your problems. I can almost read your thoughts. I can anticipate the challenges that you'll have. It's nothing new to me. It may show up in a slightly different flavor or variety, but it's nothing that I haven't really seen before. And I got this way because I started and I got my hands dirty. I went to the market directly and I started working with the individuals in the market. And then I just kept going up and up and up and up and up and up and up. And that's kind of the answer of how we get to the masses. We do it through the individuals. Now, that is only one way, by the way. There are many other ways of doing it. You don't have to do it that way. That is just one way, but you have to pick a way and dedicate a short period of time to it to validate it. So what happens is so many people just start building a little bit of a house, and then they stop, and then they go and they build another little bit of a house, and then they stop and they go and build another little bit of a house. And then you can't put 10 half-built houses together and make a house, right? So you have to dedicate yourself to one path and see what it does. Now you can, if you're crazy like I am, you might be able to dedicate two paths because the AM path, you dedicate the first half of the day to this one, and the PM path, you dedicate the second half of the day to this one. You might have the flexibility to do that. You might have the passion to do that. So you can run two paths, but you have to dedicate to one and complete it before you can dedicate to a second one. I do like running paths in parallel, but you have to be committed. And commitment becomes easier over time, but initially it's rather difficult, isn't it? It's rather difficult to commit to something when it's new to you and when you're unsure of most of the moving parts that are involved in the process. And that is okay. That is how it's supposed to be. So we just make a commitment to a short period of time, and then at the end of that commitment, where there once was confusion, now there's a little bit more understanding, or maybe a lot more understanding. And if you do that enough times, it's inevitable for you to fail. It is an impossibility for you to fail if you commit just in the way that I just described. The only way that would stop you is really bad sickness or death. That is the only way. Otherwise, it is impossible to fail under those circumstances. So that's all I do. Instead of trying to succeed, I say, how do I build a circumstance where it's impossible to fail? Instead of trying to force myself to be successful, I run out of ways in which I can't be successful, and therefore I'm successful. So yeah, and again, for me, it might be easier to do it that way. For you, it might be easier to do it a different way. I get so much energy of talking with you today. I don't know if you've noticed that. Like, this is not just for a paycheck, right? Like, I literally feel more of Jason when I'm done with these sessions than when I started. Like, you fulfill me. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but it's also the truth. And so this is a valid strategy for me, because it's empowering to me, independent of its results. And so at first, if you don't have one of those, you can try a couple different strategies, but you should gravitate towards the strategy that you draw energy from, because then it's not work anymore. Then it's just a natural extension of who you are, and this is how you will meet with success sooner rather than later. So some of you, you're like, I can't get in front of a camera. I won't get in front of a camera. And that's you today, and that was me once upon a time as well. So we don't pick those strategies. Why should we fight against something that is incredibly hard? We say, okay, how do we win under circumstances where that's not required? And that's where the faceless, non-expert digital products come into place. Now, that's a different learning curve. You're like, I'm not familiar with those. I'm unaware of those. So then you have to become aware of those, and you become familiar with those, and then you use those. And then you might discover along the way, hey, it's not so bad to be a face. And then you can add that to your repertoire. Or you might like, hey, I like it the way it is. And then you just find ways to improve it. This is a really simple process when you remove the emotion. But we can never entirely remove the emotion, can we? So we manage the emotion and then we add the best parts of it. Yeah. So now the only sales that are tracked are the sales of WAP for the monetized challenge. Yeah. Give us the best piece of advice you can, business or personal or business. Okay. I will give you the advice as I see it. Okay. You can take it or you can leave it. You can borrow parts from it. You can do whatever you want with it. So my personal hierarchy of relationships. So I think everything in life can be measured in relationships. And the quality of those relationships determine the value of your life. And so for me, the highest relationship is with my Creator, the spiritual being that I have a direct relationship. So this is who should be put first. If it's put first properly, then I seem to do good. If it's not put first, then I have some struggles, right? So that's the relationship with the Creator first, then the relationship to self second. So you are the most important person in your life, at least in this world. So if you can't show up for somebody else, then that's a problem. So you have to work on yourself so you can show up for somebody else. You feel me? And so that's the second relationship. So it goes God, it goes you, and then it goes your significant other. If you have one. If not, then maybe that makes sense for you to eventually have the right partner. And then after that, it goes children. So for me, then the children's, the relationship with the children's that I have, and then everybody else, right? So that is my relationship. And then if I prioritize that, everything else gets taken care of. Because, you know, your relationship with the Creator is, it shows you who your essence is. How your relationship is how you should show up in the world. So that gives you a clue. Now, you can try any number of occupations and they will work well for you if you're in your essence. But you ever heard the Einstein quote? If you judge a fish by how it can climb a tree, you will determine it's a stupid fish, right? So if you're supposed to swim and you're out there climbing trees, everybody will think you're an idiot, including yourself. So we have to find the essence in which you best operate. And then we have to take care of you. We have to find the conditions that bring the most you out of you possible. Now, this is very, very calculated language that I've worked on for many years, decades, in fact. I didn't say you need to become someone else. I said you need to become more of who you already are. So the big problem with a lot of personal development that gets you stuck is you are literally trying to kill who you are, at least in that sense, and be somebody else. Generally, you try to be somebody else. This is how most people want to develop personally. They want to say, I want to be more like that person, and I want to be like that person, and they aspire, and they have all these models. Most of them are malignant, by the way. If you don't know that person personally and you can't see them both behind the stage and in front of that stage, it's very dangerous to know exactly who that individual is. Ask me how I know. I mean, because I know everybody, right? So who you see on the front stage is not always who you see on the backstage. And vice versa. Some of the most incredible people in the world are so secure in who they are, they have no desire to broadcast it to the public, right? So we have to be able to know, if we're going to model somebody holistically, who that person is. This is really important. So I don't ever want to churn you into somebody else. I want you to become more of who you already are. And maybe that's semantics, and maybe I'm very subtle in that communication, but I think that that's really important. I want to turn you more into who you already are, because that presupposes that within you is everything you fucking need to be everything you want to be. And that's not this violent, let's fight against ourselves. Because if we create friction within ourselves, that makes it very difficult. That's like driving a vehicle with a foot on a gas and a foot on a brake, right? This is, by the way, if you just really want to observe, like I come in here and I have fun with you. We do the training. I show up. I give you everything I have. I go hard, and then I go home, right? I don't need to be on the gram every day. This is why my social media sucks, right? I have no desire to prove my self-worth to anyone. I am that content in who I am, right? And that is many, many decades of work and a lot of different health things that I've worked on from a lot of different perspectives in order to bring that in. But then because I'm the most me that I can be right now, I can give the most of that to you. Does that resonate? And this is how I show up. And this is how I can connect with you. This is how I can have, a woman who I feel completely and deeply connected to, which then brings more of me out as well, right? And this is how I can show up as a father as well to my children. And then obviously after that, it goes to business, friends, business contacts, etc. So this is how it works if you want to be excellent in as many areas of your life as you possibly can be in. Because I've met a lot of people, like there's this old Bob Marley quote, maybe you've heard of it. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. So you don't want to be that person either, right? This is the personal / business advice. So you don't have to be the influencer. That is a way, but it doesn't have to be your way. You don't have to be the one that sells expensive digital products. You can sell cheaper digital products and sell more of them. You could be a person that buys your advertising, or you could be a person that generates it organically. You can be a face, or you can be faceless. You can be an expert, or you can be a non-expert, right? But if you are truly right in yourself, then it becomes so easy to take action. It becomes incredibly easy to take action. So, I study everybody that I work with personally because I always can learn from anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. And so when I work with Iman, I learn from Iman. I learned so much by working next to him. And one of the things I found out tonight, and this is so funny, this is just, and he doesn't ever, I don't think he ever really mentions this, but they do a lot of these team building exercises, which is good because this is the relationships again. They bring the team together. And he had his teams run marathons. This was one of the ways that they were able to bond. And he had, because he has teams all over the world, he had 3 teams in 3 different countries running 3 different marathons. So Alex was telling me downstairs because they were running in Santa Monica, and I was laughing. I was like, I think I've seen you guys running up and down the street, because they didn't run like a normal marathon. They ran up and down the street enough to make 26 miles. But Iman just didn't run one of those marathons. He ran all 3 of them, I think, in the span of a week. So he ran it with every single teammate in 3 different locations. I think 3 different continents, perhaps, even if I understood the story correctly. And that's a sign of somebody who shows up. That's a sign of somebody who gives as much of themselves to other people as they possibly can. And that is admirable, and it's inspirational. It makes me want to show up more for my team in a capacity just like that, which is why it's important to be part of the right community. Because there is the set and there is the setting, as you've heard me discuss. There's the mental aspect, which is you, and the mental and the emotional and the spiritual and the physical. And then there's also the setting. And I think that you catch it more than you learn it. So caught, not taught. Both, obviously, but those come in contact with each other. But oftentimes you're not invited to the higher level communities until you are operating on the same frequencies that those higher level communities operate within. And so you get into the community that is a little bit above you that you can, reach up to from a frequency perspective. And then that becomes your new baseline. And then you can go up as far as you want to go up. But if you don't got it right internally, the rest of this stuff doesn't matter. Now, you can't do it just in and of itself. This is the magic trick of life. It's not like, let me pause everything else that's difficult in my life. Let me just focus on this one area right now. And then, like a video game, I'll unpause the rest. I know that's a dated reference because, these days with the MMR, online and all that kind of stuff. But back in my day, youngin', when I was playing video games, we'd pause it. You can't pause the rest of your problems and only work on one. So you have to learn how to manage multiple difficult things simultaneously. So there's priorities. So you say, okay, this is going to be the year where I'm going to prioritize this. These are the things that I'm going to maintain at stasis level. And these are the things that I don't care about. I don't have to manage these anymore, right? So it's like if you're starting a new digital product business, you probably are going to have to downcycle your social life a little bit. It's actually probably wise because A, you'll buy more time that way, and B, you'll get rid of more friction. Because if you're out there grinding it and then you go to your friends and you try to have a conversation with them about it, even if they like you, they won't probably approve of it because that's not what they're used to. That's a natural response. So you might have to downcycle some of your social life. Or if it's not that, maybe instead of also getting the six-pack abs or getting, like the yoga butt or the Pilates butt for you women, right? Maybe you have to maintain stasis on your physical appearance so you can up-level your financial status, right? So this is a game of considerations. It's a game of compromises because it's like you can have it all, but you can't have it all at once. So you want to prioritize an area of your life, maintain many of your other areas, and then allow certain things to go. Ideally, things that are unnecessary, you can completely let them go, but at least let some things take a backseat temporarily, and then they can come back to the forefront as well. It is very difficult when you're younger to build a business, depending on your goals, right? Most of you are not irrational with your goals. You don't want to be a multimillionaire like immediately, like my attitude was. But at that point in my life, it was impossible to do that and to go out there and be dating and have a massive social life and all of those other things. So I prioritized the business. And then, of course, it's funny because that then increases the social aspects. It increases the dating aspects in your life. It increases every other area of your life. So you have to make decisions on what will be subtracted so something can be added. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and I know that was a long question, as I tend to do. And so these are all, I'm trying to handle multiple mindset questions at once because I saw multiple mindset questions come in. And I will be straight with you. My heart is a little broken right now because I've been away from my wife going on, I got here last Saturday, flew out from LA on Friday. So I've been going here. It's now Sunday, Dubai time. I just talked to her before I came up here. It was Sunday morning her time. And it's like, this is painful for me at this point to be away from her this long. It hurts. And so even in success, you still make these sacrifices. I had to prioritize all of you for a short period of time over my loved ones, over my wife, over my children. And I know that, and it's good to be aware of that. But I get to do this so I can do those things for them as well that I do for them. And so you have to be okay with managing that, and a lot of people aren't. I wish I had the saying. I can't find it. Maybe somebody can pull it up here. You can measure somebody's success on how they can hold simultaneous contradictive thoughts at the same time and be unperturbed by them, right? So that's kind of a stoic approach. How can I hold multiple competing points of views at the same time and be undisturbed by them and find within those contradictions insight and action? And this is what we look like. Now, I know I'm speaking at a high level to you, but here's another belief that I have that I would love for you to try on. Because again, I mostly work with multimillionaires. That's my life these days. I work with some of the most powerful personalities on the planet that you can imagine, and they're all incredibly difficult in their own unique ways. They're all lightning in a bottle that is very intense to manage, and I'm hopping from one to the next to the next. It's a very chaotic and fun and entertaining and exciting lifestyle. Nonetheless, but my belief and this has always been my belief, and it served me very well. I don't try to dumb things down to somebody's level. I try to pull them up to my level. And so as I speak to you today from this level, it is my belief that even at the conscious level, if you don't understand it yet, that at the subconscious level, the parts that you need to hear right now will reach the parts of you that need to be reached, and then you will start operating maybe in very subtle and microscopically different ways at first. But over time, these will become more and more integrated to you. And they will come up when you most need them. That's kind of how I found about this. Ghostwriter, I believe, is in 13 different languages. And then from that, you can use general AI to iterate and localize to pretty much every other language. Yeah, thank you. And this is off the dome, right? No slides, no script, just a couple of us old souls chatting here. Yeah, no, this was cool. This was not even planned today. I showed up today and I activated an old yoga injury. This is a funny thing. So this is why you have to be careful once you get really good at something. Like once you get dedicated to something, excess and deficiency. You know that who said that? It was a philosopher. The difference between excess and deficiency, the virtue of mean, right? The virtues of mean is you want to be in that virtuous state where not too much but not too little. So I used to do a lot of hot yoga. I did 42 days in a row straight. So none of the wrestling. I would go over and get my ass kicked all across the United States, whether I won or lost. I got my ass kicked. My dad had me wrestling since I was 4. I got even my injuries have injuries, right? But nothing hurt worse than when I did 42 days of hot yoga straight, and then I did it through Christmas, and then on New Year's Eve 5 years ago, on New Year's Day, I heard it doing a forward fold, and every so often I'll act it up, especially when I work hard like this. So I got out of the car today to come in, and I hurt the back. I wasn't planning to speak today, and Yvonne says, "You're on," and I go, "Okay, sounds good," just like that, right? So this is, over time, you want to get excellent in an area of your life like this. In your professional life, you want to get excellent in an area like this, like I'm demonstrating to you now. And like Iman has excellence, at least one excellent in your life, where under any circumstance, you could turn it on and you can provide value in a way that makes sense for you to get compensated for it. So that's eventually where you want to go, but where you start is small. You start with the few people that need help, put a digital product in front of them, see what happens, adjust as needed, and then add more, and add more. Yeah. Okay, cool. Should I focus on the Spanish or the English market first? I think you should focus on where you have the biggest advantage. So if you see an opportunity in the Spanish market that makes sense, then you should start there. If you think that the English is going to work better for you, then go in the English market. If you can manage both, you should consider both, because you can create a product and localize it into both languages, put it out there, and then you can see what happens in between the two. Make it a race. See which one hits there first. Yeah. Okay. Virtue of mean. Yeah. Aristotle. That's what it was. Thank you for that. Yeah. Aristotle was between excess and deficiency. And I play that again. I play that a lot in my mind. Yeah, I play that a lot. Excess and deficiency. Yeah, this is the nuance point of view, okay? Just so you know, it's incredibly difficult to hold the nuance point of view because it's generally the this or that point of view. So success can be big or success could be small. And I'm just making sure that I don't have my phone here. I mean, my computer here, so if the boys need me or anything, I want to check on my phone buzzes, just so you know. That's why I pulled that out. Yeah, so it can be meaning you go at a micro audience at a low price point, or you can go mass at a big price point. Both of those work. The fluidity in which you go to solve your problem is incredibly valuable, but the ability to manage nuance is a big part of that. So I think you should overwhelm yourself with a variety of multiple actions that make it impossible for you not to get positive feedback, and then double down on that positive feedback. That's the name of the game. And then the rest of it is emotional. What are the emotions that are holding you back? What is the emotionality that is costing you right now? And how can we diminish that emotionality enough so it no longer gets in the way? We don't have to make it go away yet. We just have to stop it from getting in your way enough to prevent you from moving forward. How do we surround ourselves with winners? You buy your way in. You either buy it with time or you buy it with money. Like we tell our kids all the time. We always tell our kids, hey, if you have a chance to go to work with somebody who's excellent in your field, you should shine their shoes, you should wash their car, you should do their language, you should pull their weeds, right? That access, that proximity to excellence is that valuable. Like, you should work for free if you can afford it. I have copy cubs that work for me. I have 6 really wonderful copy cubs. And I told them, I'm not going to pay you much. And I only want people who are willing to eschew profit today so they can master a skill. And I said, I'm going to work your ass off because I'm recreating the same conditions that were in place when I became as successful as I was. Now, these people aren't just trying to make a living. They're trying to be world class in their field. but they get to hang around me and they get to see every decision that I make, everything that I do, how I manage this stuff, and they're learning in the field, not at the laboratory, right? It's preferable to pay for access as opposed to pay for it in time, you pay for it in money. Because, by the way, then if you pay for the right access, they have a vested interest in your success. Like they will, if they're a good person, they will be incentivized to see you succeed because you paid them money and now they're going to help you become successful. And so this is what you want to get access towards. This is what you want to be surrounded by. You can consume material on YouTube. There is nothing against that. You can listen to podcasts. You can scroll the gram for information. The problem with that is it's a good first step, but it's not sufficient in and of itself. It points you in the right direction. It really helps you understand the differences between what you're doing now and what you could be doing. It gives you clues on who to follow further. It gives you some models to play with. But it is if you want to be pro, not hobbyist at this game, but if you want to be pro, and you're a VIP, so I'm already very confident that you're at a pro level because you had to pay money to be here today, right? So if you want to be pro level, then you have to you should invest in the areas with time and money in order to be more excellent in those areas. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It just has to be very intelligent with how you distribute that money because you have a finite amount of it. So you want to be able to get a return on that investment. But the other thing we tell our kids too is we hope your first boss is a hard ass. This is what we tell the kids. We said, we hope the first person that you work with is mean and uncouth and challenges you and is unfair to you and will do things that are unjust. I mean, obviously not harm you. And we've trained the kids, if somebody's doing something to them that is abusive, to obviously communicate that to us. But we want them to be in an environment that is incredibly difficult and challenging when they're young. Because if they learn to handle it then with their parents' support so they can come back to mommy and daddy crying and licking their wounds and we can help contextualize that, then as they get older, everything will become easier to them, right? Like, here's a very difficult thing that you're going to have to manage in your life, and you've already encountered it. You will do the right thing and not get a reward for it. You will do the just thing and you will still suffer injustice. You will do the right thing, but it will be unrighteous what will occur to you. And some people will die never having reconciled that calculus. They will say, yeah, it shouldn't be that way. And it is. Here's a little exercise for you I would love for you to learn. Start doing an audit on the word should, in the word would, in the word could. I have never found those to ever be useful in any circumstance, and I don't like to speak in generalities. I have never found the word should to be useful. So every time I catch myself saying the word should, that's a clue for me that I'm operating outside of who I am. I'm saying, well, I should have been able to make that sell over there on that product. You should have, yeah, I agree. But it's not a very useful way of looking at the issue. So should and could and would, these are all clues that you are suffering from the disease of righteousness. And some people are so self-righteous that they never accomplish anything, right? We have to be able to get out of our own way. More often than not, success is getting out of your own way. And so this is, again, why coaching gives you the feedback to help you become more aware of this. Ideally, in a loving, caring, positive, enforcing environment, that's ideal. And that's what we tend to create. A safe environment where you feel like no matter what you do, you can be successful is the number one way that you'll grow. If you knew you couldn't be harmed, you would do anything and everything that you wanted to do. If you knew that only success would occur if you created digital products, you would already be creating them by now. So what we try to do, especially for the ones that we love the most, is we try to create an environment where experimentation is never unsafe. So they can feel comfortable taking chances because they're supported with people around them. That's what we try to design. Unfortunately, that doesn't really occur in the world. That's an oasis. You are fortunate and or you are lucky if you have such a thing now. And if you do, count your blessings because it is rare in this existence, right? So this is the environment you want to cultivate over time for yourself and want to be a part of. But when you're starting off, you have to learn to operate in environments that are under less than ideal conditions. And I watch the social media stuff. I'm old, but I'm not that old. Like I see, the Zoomer zeitgeist, if you will. I see what's going out there. In the United States and most other countries similar to the United States, the delicacy in which people crumble under the least amount of slight is at an all-time high. And that is not good. Okay? So I'm not saying you should have to put up with abuse. I'm not saying you should have to be in situations that are dangerous to your health, right? But there's a difference between an abusive situation and some intensity. There's a difference between somebody who tells you to do something and then when you do it, they yell at you for doing it and you're like, what the fuck? I just did what you told me. And they're like, I don't want to hear an argument right now. And you know what you do when you're starting off? You shut your mouth and you accept the fact that sometimes you're going to do things that you're supposed to do and they're not going to go your way. And you learn to manage that. You learn to not allow that friction to harm you from a productivity standpoint. And you know what you really do? Like if you were me, you learn to use that as motivation. You're like, I will tolerate this for as little time as I need to, so I will create something in its place so I no longer have to depend on it. And then I can design it the way that I want to do. But generally, in order to get there, you're going to have to tolerate a lot of things not making sense. You're going to have to tolerate a lot of contradictions. You're going to have to tolerate a lot of friction points. And it's how you manage those, that and the right plan is really the secret to success. How you manage those difficulties plus having a really good plan is the key. And most people try to work the plan. And so you will model somebody that you see successful in the plan and they will be successful and you won't because it's not only the plan, it's the plan plus some of these things that we're talking about. Now, tools and resources and coaching, all of those things help support having that right approach mentally and emotionally and attitudinally, right? But these are where these two things merge. Yep. Okay, cool. And I'm just breaking them down. This is what's going on in my mind. How do you prioritize God practically? Ideally, you should give him the first part of your day. When you wake up, that should be the first thing you do. If anything's really important to you, it should be the first thing you do. Maybe after going to the bathroom in the morning. And sometimes it might not be the top priority for you for now, but anything important should have some sort of visibility in your life on a continual basis, even if it's only for a minute, just so it's there. Yeah. Okay. How do I get rid of doubt? Because I don't have access to the best AIs. So let's frame it again, right? So this is going to be hard for you until I model it enough times, but hopefully it will stick. Because I don't have access to the best AIs, how can I manage my doubt and still get what I want? So that we take a problem frame and we turn it into a solution frame. You feel me, right? And by the way, I'll give you a little bit of extra that I've found working with the clients that I work with is the last resort I try to do is to directly fight against something that is difficult in my life. So if you're like, I got all this doubt, I have all this doubt is hitting me, and I'm pushing on this doubt and it's pushing back and I'm fighting this doubt and I'm fighting it. I generally find that's the least effective way to manage a difficult situation, like an emotion. Instead, you say, how do I live with this doubt and still move forward enough? Because now we don't have to get rid of the doubt. We just have to manage it. How can I have just a slight decrease in this doubt so I can take a few steps forward and get a different thing than I'm getting right now? So getting rid of a thing completely is very hard to do. But modulating it downward just a little bit, way more possible. You feel me? So everybody else is like, I got to be confident in order to succeed. I'm like, how can you fail and still move forward? See the difference between those two attitudes, right? If somebody's saying like, I'm having trouble focusing, great. What's the least amount of focus that we need just to do the least amount of successful things possible in our life? I'm not trying to turn like something that is very difficult to you into something that's automatic. That's like, no wonder you're struggling, right? I would struggle too if that was my DNA. Instead, it's like, how do we modulate these things down or up enough just to get past the threshold from not doing to doing. You feel me on that one? All we got to do is cross that threshold. We can do it poorly at first. Anything worth doing is worth doing poorly at first. And then we can get our reps in, right? We can do it the worst first iteration of the thing and then iterate on it afterwards, right? But we just have to modulate these friction points that prevent us from moving forward enough so we cross the threshold from not doing into doing. That's what we need to optimize for. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and use alchemy itself too. Thank you for that, LOK. Use tools to help you manage this because unfortunately I will not always be there for you. So Geronimo says, if there's something that is my priority, but its time is not enough because situations as a full-time job won't let me focus my attention to it. Yeah. So then you do your best you can. So you could say, if I am restricted from time and I can't physically do this thing, then I will do it mentally. So here's a little science for you. Because I practice the principle of a slight edge. I consume way more digital products than anybody here. Because I'm always looking for that one little thing that can be impactful in my life. Because if it works, I can carry it with me for the rest of my life. Isn't that a good deal? I can buy it once and then get a return on it for the rest of my life. That's incredible. That's like a stock that always pays dividends. It's like real estate that only appreciates over a period of time. And so that's what I do. Now, here's the thing. If you visualize the success and the outcome, even if you don't do it, if you merely visualize it, that will create nearly the same neurology, like wiring in your body. The physiology will be very similar. So if you see yourself succeed for many, many, many months in my head before I would speak in front of an audience, I would visualize myself speaking in front of an audience before I ever had one. And I would see the faces in the crowd, and I would notice the distinguishing characteristics of each individual face in the front row. You look like this, you look like this, you look like this. I would notice the feeling of the texture of the podium that I stood in front of. I would even hear the air conditioning humming in the background, and I would hear the crowd murmuring as they settled down and they would shift, and I would feel the weight of the word off of my lips every time that I spoke it. And I would see it, and I would repeat this process in my mind. And I could do that when I was standing in line at the bank before, mobile banking was a thing. And I could do that in the shower. I could do that when I was doing other things during those little moments of downtime. And I work with Bob Proctor personally. And Bob Proctor would say this saying, goes, if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And I'm a firm believer in that. And so if at first you can't prioritize it physically, you can prioritize it mentally, okay? My wife just literally texted me right now. It's like, I can't find the link to see you speaking. Everything shows reply. She's not a VIP. She thinks it's on the main session. Let me hook her up for a second. Appreciate your patience in this. 1 second. All right, I'm going to send it to her. Yeah. And, on the personal front, find you somebody who can support you and that you can support like this, right? I think I copied it from there and I can paste it into here. If you have somebody that always has your back like this, then you've already won. Yeah. And you might not always get it right your first time. Speaking from experience, right? Hey, hubby. Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed this, but some days she will comment. It was funny because one of the days they clipped the comment from her. They thought it was a customer. I'm like, oh, that's my wife. She was commenting in the chat a lot. What mindset shift or decision made the biggest difference in your success? So this is really interesting. So let me parse this question back. Okay. Oftentimes you will hear this because it makes for good clips. What was the one thing that made all the difference in your life? What was that single decision that you made? Or what was this or what was that? I don't know if there is a single decision. Success is often in doing a lot of little things correctly on a consistent basis. Yeah. So I think it was a little bit of this combined with a little bit of that combined with a little bit of that, right? Yeah, she says, sorry, I wasn't a VIP. So I think a lot of success is decisions made consistently over a period of time. And so usually, in reality, it's not one decision that made all the difference. That's a good narrative. And our brain will have trouble processing all the data, so we will recall it back later. Okay, they call this hindsight bias. Let me spit a little game on you. I'm going to look it up. Hindsight bias, okay? Let's get a definition for this. So this is one of the many models that I've studied in my life. So I've studied bias, how we have biases in our brain, and how we make fallacies in our decision-making process. Because I'm like, I want to eliminate the biases that restrict me, and I want to commit less fallacies in my life so I can make decisions more accurately. So a hindsight bias, also known as knew it all along phenomenon, or creeping determinism, is the common tendency for people to perceive past events as having been more predictable than they were. So in this particular case, the hindsight bias was, I know exactly what made me successful. But the reality is, I really don't. Like, my accuracy on the exact specific things, I can point to some of them and they can be useful to you, but it is a culmination of a lot of little things done right, repeated over a constant period of time. Like, this is the magic secret of success, and you can see why this doesn't go viral on social media, because there's too much nuance to that, and there's too much difficulty around somebody understanding that. Although if you sit with just a minute or two, I'm not saying you have to try it on and wear it all summer, but if you sit with it a minute or two, I think it will be very easy to understand. And you have to start with the small, easy decisions that you can make and commit to, and you can compound those over time. Yeah. And I think that I think that's what makes the biggest difference, right? I think that's what makes the biggest difference. Yeah, and I got Barth here, too. I got Barth, my friend from 7th grade. He's in the chat here today. He's VIP, right? I got family. We got family here. Yeah. So Monetize Pro benefits, like Iman is very sensitive, as am I. I'm less sensitive because I love to sell. You know me, I love to pitch and I love to close. I get massive enjoyment out of a skill that many of you are scared to death to even consider, right? I don't know much about Monetize Pro. This is one of the things that we're iterating for next time. I said, next time I need to understand and know more about Monetize Pro. So when the question asks, I could properly answer it. To my understanding, it's a little bit more coaching, but we're trying to keep this session more around general reflection and everything. What quality should we look for in a mentor? That's a good question. Here's a good exercise for you. I want you to, don't do it right now, but write down the notes to do it later, okay? Think of 5 people in your life that you admire. And then of the 5 people that you admire, I want you to list 5 traits about each person that you admire. So when you're done, you will have at most 25 traits. You will probably have less than that because you will see a pattern and they will overlap. So if they overlap and all 5 of them have the same trait, then there's a clue. Whoever your mentor is, they should have at least that trait. And then ideally, when you get all 25 traits, you pick the 3 to 5 traits that said, if my mentor has these, that's a good sign. Now you have to make another list. What are things that I will not tolerate? What are things that I would never approve of or accept? What are negative traits that would completely derail the whole thing? And then you make a list of those. So my mentor needs to have these 3 to 5 traits, and ideally the mentor doesn't have these 3 to 5 issues. That's the ideal, okay? If you get that, fantastic. At least you have clarity, so as you move through life, when mentors show up that meet those traits, you'll better recognize them. But until then, you have to accept less than ideal circumstances. You have to be able to accept mentoring selectively, right? You have to say, from this person, I want to take this from them, but I don't want to take these other things from them. So let me import just this factor to them, and let me parse the advice they give in this area versus advice they give in other areas where I don't want to model them, and I will import what's useful about them in the area they are an expert in, but I will kindly ignore the other pieces that don't fit into my paradigm, right? So, like, for example, if I want to be an excellent father, I will learn business advice from people whose business is their whole jam, where they're like, no kids, nothing else, It's on the grind, Sigma grind set 24/7, 365. And I'll say, I can learn from them specifically different useful business strategies, but then I will calibrate them to my situation. How do I design that within the parameters of the life that I want to live? Because if I exactly model them, I can only model them to the extent that I'm willing to live a life similar to theirs. You feel me on that one? So we have to integrate parts, and then we can be useful. It is unfortunate. My personal opinion on this one, take it or leave it. I think it's unfortunate right now that we have become so siloed and so judgmental into people who are so different than us. So even your enemies can teach you insightful things. Sometimes your enemies will teach you better lessons than your friends ever will, right? So sometimes if you learn what not to do, that is more useful than what to do. But in the United States, people have deleted 50% of the potential population of people that they can learn from based on an ideological consideration. I find that fucking insane, right? For me to assume that half of a population who may not agree with a certain ideology has no usefulness whatsoever and delete that only hurts me. That doesn't hurt anybody else. I mean, it hurts me more than it hurts anybody else. So even in the people that we don't necessarily see eye to eye with, we can find utility from. And we can get a lot of good value out of places that otherwise nobody else would touch. Now, who do you think you become in that process? If you walk around and you carry yourself like that in life, isn't that like really good for your own being? It's not to see everything and not to see all these problems in the world and see enemies around every single corner. Now, guess what is perpetrated out there? That feeling, because that creates addiction. And when you are addicted, you are on platforms. And when you are on platforms, people are making money, right? This is all by design, right? And so you have to be able to recognize where this comes from. If you are angry, you are twice as dedicated to stay on a platform than if you're not. So let's use anger. I will use anger as a useful situation. If I can gain utility out of anger and that can help me and I can temporarily use it, I will. I just don't want it to eat me alive in the process. So anger is one of those emotions where you have to handle like a snake, right? Like you can handle it, but you can get bit if you're not careful with it. But if you walk around from life saying, what's useful about this that I can take, and what's the rest of this that I can disregard, and I don't have to carry with me, I think that will show up positively in so many different avenues of your life, right? And I'm not perfect at this. I am a work in progress, as are you. These are things that I work towards on a consistent basis. And some days I show up better than other days. But just the fact that I am optimizing for this allows me to get more than what most people get in terms of like moving forward and getting the things that I want in my life, right? So I hope that makes sense. What's your all-time favorite quote? Probably like a non-Bhagavad Gita quote. I won't drop like religion on you too much. I already kind of did. But my favorite quote is by Churchill, where it says, the truth is incontrovertible. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is. And I've probably dropped it a time or two in this chat, right? Here's another one for you. Of all the words of mice and men, the saddest are what might have been. I think I got that mostly right. Of all the words of mice and men, the saddest are what might have been. And that is a quote on leaving your potential outside of you. Yeah. But I like the Churchill quote. The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it. Ignorance may deride it. But in the end, there it is. And what your goal is to find that truth. Find that truth. This is why I sell. I mean, let's look at it on how I sell, right? I find the best value in the product, that is its North Star, that it is its eternal truth, and I sell to that. And that's what makes me incredibly effective at what I do in the mode that you see me in typically, which is selling. And then I find a way to do it and combine it with coaching and education and training at the same time, which until me, people said you couldn't do. So they're like, that's not possible. It's either this or that. And I'm a living, breathing, talking, walking example of what I'm describing to you. I said, it's impossible unless, ... right? To quote my friend Dr. Alan Bernard, he taught me that. So it's like, okay, let's bring in the best parts of these and integrate them in a holistic way and let's see what happens. But I had to experiment. It's the whole deal of you will overestimate what you can do in 90 days and you will underestimate what you can do in 90 weeks, right? Or you will overestimate what you can do in a month and you will underestimate what you can do in a year. Like you can go farther than you imagine, but just not in the shortest period of time that you would like it to be in. But this is why we compound our successes. This is why we keep working at it. This is why we invest each day into the next day, and we create momentum and we create leverage. And this is why it seems like it takes forever and then it happens all at once. Tell me if that resonates with you. How do you actually find a mentor? I find that incredibly hard. So I could get philosophical with you. I said, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And maybe that happens to you. That could be a way, right? But you have mentorship indirectly from me right now. But I will tell you, and this is independent, if there was no add to cart associated to this, and there was no incentive for me whatsoever, I will tell you again, either buying your way into mentorship, whatever you can afford, or trading your time for mentorship if you can't afford it. That is your answer. You want to put yourself into situations where you will do work for other people, even for free. And by the way, if I say that in the world, people will hate me for that in public. Out of context, they will hate me. They will accuse me of being a slave driver, and they will accuse me of all sorts of nefarious things, right? Like we have this nanny that works for us right now. It's just an incredible woman in our household. And my wife went and posted in one of these Facebook groups looking for new help when we moved back from France to the United States. And man, they vilified her. They're like, you should pay this wage, and you should do that, and you should do this, and you want all of this stuff, and you're asking too much. And it was ridiculous. But if you think I'm mentally tough, my wife is even tougher than I am. Like, she can handle the criticism better than I can because her heart is pure, and she knew what she was going to do, and she knew what was going to happen as a result of that. And we have this wonderful person in our life that is so valuable to our kids and us, and we have helped up so tremendously. But if we would have censored ourselves and we would have said, well, no, we have to do it in this way that the masses, the average masses, will tell us to do it, and that would be the only way we could get a result, we would have denied everybody from benefiting from this right now. But it goes back to putting yourself in a situation where it's going to be difficult for you at first to put yourself in a high-stress environment where people aren't going to, in general, be accepting of it. But you don't want to take a risk, right? So we have to do it in a way that doesn't really harm you. We can sharpen you up and toughen you up without harming you. We can mold you into the best version of you that's possible in the process without crushing you. But we do have to apply a little bit of pressure. So if you can't pay for your mentor, then you should put yourself in a situation where you work for your mentor under very unideal circumstances. Like every single person that I work with on Iman's team that I've known personally essentially forced themselves into that situation. They asserted themselves into the situation to take the role on that they wanted to take. And then if they were good, then they can move up in the organization. And they did. Yeah. And now we do Russian banyas and we get our ass kicked together. It's a really fun experience. I made it through the one last night. So here's a little funny story for you. So the first time, so you got to understand, when we did Monetize 2.0 launch, I thought I would be flying from Nice in France to Dubai, which is a casual 7 hours. That's light work, right? But what happened is last minute I had to fly from Nice to Iowa, and you don't get that directly. There was like 2 connections involved. I think I went Copenhagen to Chicago to like Cedar Rapids or something stupid like that. And then I sat there for a couple of days to see my dad, and then I had to fly out to Las Vegas because I had to do a 2-day training for these multi-million-dollar businesses that are part of a group that I lead. And then from that, I had to pop back to L.A. at the home and take care of something real quick because I was like, I have nowhere else to go. Like, I either stay in Vegas, I might as well get back to L.A. and go to our property in L.A. there. And then from there, I had to fly to Dubai. I land in Dubai. The next day, I'm meeting up with the guys, and we're going and doing Banya. And I did not make it through. I lasted the least. I copped out really quickly. And in the back of my head, I was like, damn, I just blown this whole deal right here, right? These guys are going to think I'm so. This is like the mental think I'm talking to myself. I'm like, I screwed this whole thing up. But of course, these guys are really cool. They don't play like that. And, I'm like, I'm a little older than those guys are. So this time in Banya, we did it yesterday. Nailed that shit, right? So there's always a second chance. But you want to put yourself into situations where you have the ability to grow. And I'm always doing that. We're always working towards that. And this is the flavor of life, isn't it? Can someone make a list of all the bonuses? There's a lot. And again, I'm not trying to pitch today. With every fiber of my being, I'm not trying to pitch today. When you were young, what did you spend your time on? I screwed around a lot when I was younger. Define young, by the way. So I played a lot of video games. And so that was a coping mechanism in the environment that I grew up in. But I read a lot of books. I've always had this desire to read, and I love to read. And I tried to produce a lot of music. So I would find these different programs, and I learned how to work them online. And I wrote a lot of lyrics, and I wrote a lot. I was a writer. I've always been a writer. But, I screwed around a lot, too. Partied a lot when I was younger. Did a lot of illicit substances when I was younger. I got that out of my system early, thank God, right? In a sense, very dangerous though. Very, very dangerous. And nobody cared to check in on me. And I wrestled. I wrestled up until I couldn't wrestle anymore because I was too busy screwing around. And then I always tried to do music. And that music was the only really constant in my life that I stuck to. And then that's how I led into the music, then led me into, the religion, being a monk. And then that led me to really focus and get clarity. And then that led me into studying business to try to make my music work. And then that allowed me to drop the music and stay on the business. And then from the business, I'll tell you another little funny story here. You want to know about the first money I ever made online? It's crazy, right? So my mom and dad got divorced when I was 14, and that one event was pretty chaotic. My dad bounced and he just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. And my mom, she went and got into some really heavy stuff. And so I kind of wanted to stay with her to watch her and take care of her so she didn't, hurt herself too bad. And so I was kind of trying to take care of her, go to school, manage the house and all that kind of stuff at an early age. So then I got through that. That was like the most difficult part of my life. I went to school, and then, my mom, she ended up going to prison. So I dropped out of school because I just didn't want to be there. And I only went there to get away from everything. And I came back, and it was Easter weekend, and I kind of moved back in with my dad and didn't tell him because I had no other option. So after not seeing him for a while, I just showed up. And then he was like, hey, we were going up to my grandma's. And he goes, when are you planning on going back to school? And I'm like, I'm not. And he goes, I didn't think so. And that was the end of the conversation. We never talked about it further. But my dad was struggling in his life, and I was struggling in my life. And so we needed each other at that time. So that's how we started kind of rebuilding our relationship, which was great. And so I was living with him, and then I started working on the music while I was living with him in this little tiny, little shitty apartment. And we only had one closet. And in that closet, there was this advanced dating series book. It was like an info product, a digital product that he bought for like $200. So this was really funny because my dad was single. He was trying to learn how to date again. So my dad went to the internet, bought a digital product on how to pick up chicks, right? And I just started getting into business. So I heard about this program. So I'm like, I know this program. It's a thing that you can buy on the internet. And if somebody purchases it from you, you get a 200% affiliate commission. So I'm like, I have the materials. I will learn these materials so I can market them on the internet and promote this digital product and make money with it. So I started writing articles. And so I wrote these articles about like these techniques to pick up women that I learned from my dad's book that he had. And then I would promote the affiliate program. And in the first month I did that, I made like $300. And I was painting houses at this time. This is how I was getting by. So I'd paint houses during the day, and then I would write these articles during the night. And then I did the math on it. And I'm like, I am making more money painting houses than I am writing these articles. And the affiliate commissions didn't come for like 60 days. So I'm like, this won't get me free. This won't allow me to quit painting and branch out on my own. That's when I started writing articles. So I was painting at the time with like one of my first mentors, and we had painted for 22 days straight. It was fucking miserable. But we usually painted inside, interiors. But this time we were painting a house with the exterior of the house, and it was raining that day. So thank God I got to go home. And that day I said, I'm going to now write articles for other people, because I got good at writing articles, even though I couldn't monetize them. So I would write articles for other people, and that started my ghostwriting career. And then within 7 days, oh, thank you so much. Within 7 days of that, then I started making money as an article writer. And then I was able to quit painting and able to dig into that. And then after doing that for a long time and getting tired and exhausted with that because it didn't scale, that's when I created my first digital product on how to write articles. So that's a very circuitous way of how I was able to figure all this out. How about that one? How do you get that smart and reflected? Part of it, like I said, a digital product was responsible for that, because my mom taught me how to read before I could walk, talk, or write. I couldn't even walk and I couldn't even talk, but I could read. So I think I had that neuroplasticity wiring going on. Those neural pathways, they started really creating connections. So I was very blessed. But intelligence can be a curse in this business, and it often is, because you will overthink things and you will underfeel things. And intelligence can get in your way because there's more ways something can go wrong than they can go right. And if you do the calculus on that, you're like, well, all of these are wrong. Only a few of these could be right. So therefore, there are more wrong ways than right ways, so I shouldn't do it. When the reality is that's a quantitative calculation. It's not a qualitative calculation. So the qualitative says it doesn't matter. This one way, if it goes right, will pay for all of these ways that go wrong. Because all these ways I can manage against them, so there's no real harm that comes to me. And any of these three ways that could go right are acceptable. And who I become in the process will still be there with me regardless of the outcome or the result that I get. And then, that's how I did it. And I will tell you, so I'll give you a formula. Attempt, observe, adjust. So write that down. Attempt, observe, adjust. So you form a hypothesis. I want to try this. Then you attempt it. Then you observe what happens from the attempt. And then if there's merit there, you adjust it. And then you attempt it again. Then you observe what happens. And then if there's merit there, guess what? You adjust it, and then you try it again. I mean, that's what it is. Attempt, observe, adjust. So you attempt your first digital product, you observe what happens, and then you adjust it. Observation has 3 components to it. What went well? What did I learn? And what can I now do that I couldn't do before? And then you invest those into the adjustment. And then you attempt it again. So success is a spiral staircase. That's what success is. It's not a straight line. It's a spiral staircase. And the thing about being a spiral is sometimes you feel like you're back to the same place you were because you don't realize that you're actually 1 degree higher than where you started. So you're standing in the same place, feeling like you've gotten nowhere, but you've actually elevated your success frequencies by just an imperceptible amount. And then if you do it again, you'll feel like you're standing in the same place, but you will have increased your success frequencies just a little bit more. And then when you continue to do that, only when you get up enough can you see the view. And then you'll go, oh, got it. So to me, it's like a spiral that goes like this. So you go from A here to B here, and you go in a spiral. And sometimes that spiral will go down, and then it will go back up. Yeah, it's crazy, right? And by the way, sometimes you could go in the wrong direction so far that you end up in the right location, too. And that's also fascinating, but maybe that's a whole different conversation. Do you agree that if you genuinely try your best, you cannot have failed? No, I don't agree with that. Sincerity is not enough to be successful. So this is a good lesson for all of you. Sincerity is not enough to be successful because there are a lot of broke, miserable, nice, genuine people that exist out there. Some of the best people I know are some of the most broken people I know because they tried to win the game with sincerity alone, right? You have to connect that genuineness and that sincerity with a plan that you can be accountable to. Yeah. If you're a nice guy and you build your house on the sand, your house will still crumble, even if you're a nice guy. Even if you are sincere, you can still lose. So sincerity, genuineness, trying, all of these are valid traits in them themselves. And we got to hold some sort of accountability towards an outcome. So you got to combine those two together. So if you are dedicated, because by the way, some people are very genuinely climbing the wrong ladder, leaning on the wrong building. There's the old joke. I don't know who said this, but if you motivate an idiot, then you have a motivated idiot. And if you motivate them to run in the wrong direction, they will run in that wrong direction faster, right? Yeah. I've done it before. I'm the poster child for that. So we have to hold accountability, and then sincerity, genuineness. These are things that become incredibly useful. Yeah, and a lot of this is, as you guys know, Jim Rohn has been one of my distant mentors. And a lot of this that I learned from Jim Rohn. Yeah, a lot of this I learned from Jim Rohn. I am Jim Rohn. They say like nobody will remember you when you die. Like this is some fucking stupid popular social media shit right now. I wish my biggest downside in this business is I have to consume social media so I know what's going on, and I have to be on social media too, right? I want the minimum viable effective dosage of it possible to live my life, because there's this trend on social media right now where what was the saying that goes, oh yeah, nobody will remember you when you die. Tell me if you've heard of that, right? Dostoevsky. I read him for the first time in Italy last year. My wife and I were going through all of Europe, and I got Dostoevsky, and I was like, God, I hate this stuff. I was depressed when I was done reading it. But I wanted to see where it was at. But this whole nonsense of nobody will remember when you died, and you have no legacy, right? All that bullshit, right? Let me tell you a very, very sad story. And I was going to tell it one day, and I decided not to. And it's not really sad, but it's a very difficult story to communicate. And I don't very often share it, okay? And I have to make sure I don't get caught up in it too much, right? But when my mom was 17, before man, this is so frustrating how the world can work, but it always works out how it's supposed to, right? So my mom got pregnant, and I had a brother, and his name was Ryan. And then my mom straightened up. She got clean, and everything was working really good, and everything looked like it was going to work out. And then an old person that she knew way back in the day came through with this one last deal that was going to save the day and do all this amazing stuff, and she took it. He was wired. Feds caught on. End of story, right? So I have this brother who I'm 17 years older than. And so it was an interesting relationship. And I felt half like a father figure to him and half like a brother to him. And, my mom had to go to prison. So, my uncle watched him, and I'd go over there. And then when my mom got out, integrated the family back together. So I was the only through line and constant in Ryan's life, in my brother's life. And then when he was 8, unfortunately, so I'm trying to think of what this year, because he was born in the year 2000. So it's 2008. Sadly, he got diagnosed with cancer, terminal cancer of the brain. And I remember the day very clearly, January 25th when he passed away, is 2009. And I held his hand. My mom had stood with him all night. She left the room, and she says, come get me if something happens. And we knew it was time. And I sat there, and I held his hand, and that was just me and him in the room, and he passed. And, this is now 2009. We're talking 16 years ago. And it was the hardest thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. And I remember walking outside, and the snow started coming down, and it looked like angels taking him away. And I had to deal with the pain that you can't even imagine, right? And I had to sit there with it. And thank God I had God in my life to help me parse through it. And, it's 16 years later, and I carry him with me everywhere I go. And I feel his presence, and I feel the best part of him can show up through me in all that I do. And this is a lot of what I bring in. This is a lot of what I carry with me into what I do when I do this. And I don't like to share this story because it's so intimate and it's so private to me. But we've been here, this is unannounced, and we've been here 6 days together, right? Some of you we've spent 24 hours together with. But what helped me in that process, many things helped me, but I said, I made a vow to do great things in his name. And I don't use this in my marketing. I don't talk about it because I don't want to cheapen it, right? But this is just being real. I made a vow that day to do great things in his name. Because if I did, then he would always be with me. And I think about him every single day, right? And so you are going to be here far beyond when your body is gone. And the legacy that you shape and that you create with how you show up and who you are and the areas in life which you can live fully, those are always going to exist eternally. That is the opinion that I hold, right? And so when you are in tune to these, and it's not just the good times, it's all the times, right? This is why I say that within adversity, there's alchemy, right? You can turn adversity into alchemy. And these are where we draw upon, not just the good experiences and not just the bad experiences. We take all of the experiences with us. And they are there for whatever reason they're supposed to be there for. And so you have to be able to accept it all at some level, or attempt to, or strive to, for the ideal, to move for it. And I'm part and parcel of it, right? I get to live truly one of the most excellent lives that you can imagine. I really do. How I got there was not exactly the way that you would want to write it up. And I had to be patient, and I had to take a while with it, and I had to work on myself, and I had to deal with unbelievable challenges along the way, and this is one of them. And it's the one I talk about the least, right? But also, the two people that had the most profound impact on my life were my grandpa. And I watched him pass away firsthand when I was about 9 years old. Very upfront, very close to personal. And the second person that had the most profound impact on my life was my brother. And so these two people that I only had a brief glimpse of time on that scale had a massive depth of impact on my life. And so it's not really even the duration of time, it's the amount of impact. And then I try to bring that here and show that to you and share that with you. And listen, it doesn't have to be the same way for you. I hope that I have went through these things and endured them and can give you the wisdom so you can sidestep them as much as humanly possible, right? And if you deal with any of these issues, then at least you can remember my voice in the back of your head telling you that, hey, when you're going through hell, you can keep going, right? But you also can take all of this with you and invest it into whoever it is that you wish to be, the more version of yourself that you can be, and have it show up in as many things as you possibly can. And if you do that, we will call you successful. If you do that, you will be carried on and remembered in the hearts of those that you've impacted and influenced. And maybe even not directly, because maybe they didn't know who you are. Maybe you did something that helped somebody, that helped somebody else, that helped somebody else. Butterfly effect style, right? And that is how the legacy will be carried on. Yeah. So... So there you go. So that's kind of like the greatest piece of advice that I've learned in my life, sharing it with you. Yeah. And I think that's another Churchill quote. I like Churchill quotes, which is interesting because I don't like the man too much. So that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. Jason, what do we do when we get sales one day and then the next few days is without sales? Yeah, it happens, right? Some days it rains and some days it doesn't rain. What we try to do is influence it so sales happen consistently. And there's two ways that you do that. One way is you build systems for each digital product, for a digital product to influence that. So you say, what would a system look like where I can get consistent sales as opposed to, haphazard sales? And then the second one is you try to have more than one digital product. So that way, even if a digital product doesn't get sales, because you have a portfolio of them, you will get sales every single day, regardless if it's from product A or product B or product C. Now, here's the other thing you have to accept. All digital products have a shelf life. There's a reason why we don't launch Monetize 1.0 and then just leave it at that. This is why we got to launch Monetize 2.0 and launch Monetize 3.0 and maybe a 4.0 sometime next year. I don't know, right? And then eventually we won't be able to launch it anymore. For one reason, the market will have moved on, or we will have moved on, or probably both. Things will have changed, right? So all digital products have a shelf life. Some of them have a longer shelf life than others. And so we just have to accept that, and then we just manage that within the playbook that we're playing upon. Ideally, we create products that have more shelf life than less shelf life. And you will find that. But here's the fun game. Products that make you small amounts of money repetitively have long shelf lives. Products that make large amounts of money quickly tend to have shorter shelf lives. So, a lot of the products you will create initially will have longer shelf lives. And then you will blend and mix them sometimes with products that will bring you in large paydays, if you wish to. And then you'll have a balanced portfolio, if you will. Yeah. Yeah, and then I shared that, Shaka, that was the hardest time of my life, and that's what it taught me. Good question, though. Yeah. What's your advice or system for time management and scheduling for multiple projects? I'm probably not a good model of that anymore. Because of AI, I have many companies that are seeking me out, and they're all dying to work with me, and they're all in different industries, different categories, different segments, and all that kind of stuff. I have had more demand on my time in the last 12 months than I had at any point in my entire life. So I'm just kind of like grabbing life by the horns and holding on right now. I am probably not the good model for that. But I will tell you in general, good productivity, good time management principles. Are you ready for them? I think the most important principle of success with productivity is Parkinson's Law. So the task at hand expands to fill the time allotted. So if I give myself a long time to do something, it will take a long time. My first digital product, I gave myself one sitting because I tried it every other way and it couldn't work. So I said the product will start when I sit down, and when I stand up, the product is finished. So if I have to pee, I better hold it or go to the bathroom in my pants because I ain't getting up until this product is done. So my Parkinson's Law was shrunk to the task at hand. I had to do it. So therefore, I had to find a way to do it in a short period of time. I had to find to do it in a way where I had to prioritize only what was essential and delete everything else that was not essential to that digital product. And then I had to sell it for a cheap price point because it wasn't that big of a product. And so that's Parkinson's Law. The task at hand expands to fill the allotted time. All right. So then the corollary to that is the Pareto principle, which is the 80-20, the 80-20 principle. 20% of inputs get 80% of outputs. Or to run it back a couple different ways, a few inputs get a majority of the results. Or typically 3 to 5 things are more important than everything else combined. The law of the vital few. A few things matter more than everything else. And so my goal was I always would build a system, and I would say, what are the 3 most important things required for success with this? And then I would map them out. And then I would say, what then are the 3 subparts of each of these 3 major things? And then I would map those out. So I'd say I have to optimize for these 3 things. And within each of these things, there are these 3 elements that are involved. And sometimes it was 4, sometimes it was 5, sometimes I had 2 subparts, sometimes I had 4 subparts. But essentially that's what it was. So I could isolate. So I would write down a list. What are 10 to 15 to 20 important inputs on this task? And I'd look at that and I'd make my best guess. I think these 4 for me for now are the most important. Now I have my 4. Now you can use AI to help you with this these days, but that's how I would manage it. So I would come up with my law of vital few. These few things will result in a majority of the success, and then I would set my timer with Parkinson's law. This is how much time I have to prep. This is how much time I have to do. And this is how much time I have to then edit or finalize. And then I would ship. And that's how I was able to be productive, right? I have a set of notes here. I will read them to you real quick. I don't know if I went into them the other day, but I was preparing for our presentation the other day. Here's not knowing, action, and completion, the 3 states of being. State number 1, I don't know what's going to happen. State number 2, I take action. State number 3, I complete whatever I define as completion, right? Everything is a draft. I'm going to put it here so I don't look it off to the side. When you look at everything as a draft, for me, I get more productive. Because it's like, it's never finished. So I'm not trying to optimize for finished. I'm just trying to finish a draft of it. And this allows me to tolerate imperfection quite easily. So everything is a draft. Here's another one. Pretending you know what you're doing is almost as good as actually knowing what you're doing. In practice, those two look very similar, and they tend to get a similar output. So you think, I got to know what I'm doing. I got to know what I'm doing. And you force yourself to say, well, until I know, then I won't take action. But if you feel like if you're pretending, well, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I kind of think I do, and then you do it, it's almost as good as actually knowing what to do. You learn to know what to do as you do. Yeah. The point of being done is not to finish, it's to get something else done. So this relieves the pressure on the output of the thing you're doing. If I'm trying to get this result, that's freaky. If I'm just trying to get this done because I have something even more exciting after it, then you get it done to move on to the next thing. That's like one of the ultimate productivity hacks. Once it's done, you can throw it away. So once it's done, you don't have to put it out in the world. And I find this incredibly useful because often when it's done, I look at it and it's pretty good. But in my mind, until it gets done, it's not that good. So I give myself permission when it's done to throw it away. And then that allows me to get it done sooner because it relieves the pressure. Hate perfection. Perfection is boring. Imperfection is interesting. Perfection is the ultimate imperfection, right? Listen to those with dirty hands. So don't listen to theorists that haven't gotten their hands dirty because a lot of productivity is the result of multiple sacrifices against the ideal. It will never be what you want it to be, and that's okay because it will be more than enough. So it's just like people that have dirty hands know what they have to compromise on a lower level to achieve a higher level. Yeah. Failure counts as done. Public failures are better than private successes. Public failures are better than private successes. So failure is a done state, and done is better. Done is best. We want done. Failure is a part of done, so we can fail to get to done. Done is fantastic. Done is what we're optimizing for, right? Anything that the public can consume equals done. So until the public can consume it, it isn't done yet. So that's the attitude here. And then done is the engine of more. You can't do more until you do done. So once you do done, then you can do more. So that's my 10 laws of productivity. It's a variation of the Cult of Done, it's a public domain paper by Keo Stark and Bree Pettis. And then I took it and I made it my own flavor. Yeah. There will be split payment options for monetize. Yep. See, this is what the outside world never understands. You're like y'all guys want to know the answers. But people are like, oh, he's just selling. Yeah, still fighting with perfection. If you want perfection, you will lose every single time. So those are some of the insights to you. I do got to wrap up here pretty soon, so I'm going to take a look at any last questions. But yeah, split payments are definitely available still. Yeah, we gone 2.5 hours. I don't know if Iman was serious when he says like Jason can go longer than normal. Can you please explain what you mean by eliminate all failure, then you naturally succeed? How do you make that happen? I can't understand how it's possible to eliminate all possible failures. So it's not a literal phrase. I'm glad you are clarifying on that, right? It's not a literal phrase. But let's just say that you created a bunch of digital products. You created a product, nobody bought it, so you went back and adjusted it, and then you published it again, and nobody bought it, and you went back and adjusted it, and you published it again. And you contacted more than sufficient amount of people to take a look at it and consider buying it. And you did that each and every time. You would eventually, by accident, if not on purpose, stumble upon something that would grab. You just would. Like in practice, that's how it works. We just look at something and say, okay, this is a failure that will bring me a step closer to success is a nice mental attitude to have, because then it moves you forward. Yeah, that's why we look at it this way. Here's a perfect example. When I stay on these calls for 3 or 4 hours a day, when I'm like closing and selling, I will run out of ways for people to tell me no. At least some people will realize that no doesn't make sense to them anymore. But we can't do that in an hour. So some people look at that as desperation. I can't do it. I can't do it in an hour. So I have to exhaust all possibilities that somebody who should say yes doesn't say yes. And then I'm left with the result of somebody saying yes. So that's what that looks like. It typically means we don't try to make things optimal at first. We just try to make things force their way out there until something breaks through. And then we back the winner. That's the attitude behind that. Yep. VIPs get all the bonuses, just so you know. That was an executive decision that was made the other day. So no matter when you buy as a VIP, because we were thinking, like, how do we help? We're always thinking, how do we give VIPs extra love, extra flavor? And that was one of the areas that we saw that. So that's an example of optimizing in the mix, right? Adjusting and iterating in the process. Yeah. How do I deal with the feeling of being stuck? Yeah, we're at some point in time, you just got to accept what I'm telling you and just embrace it until you know better. Until you can otherwise disprove me, then you just have to accept it and try it on. And then if you try it and it doesn't work for you, then it's okay. But until you know better, follow Fladland's perspective on what I'm talking about with productivity. Yeah. What are some non-business hobbies that you or your wife have that level you up? We go out on these date nights every single week when we can. We usually can. In France, we were going on them. We did a lunch and a dinner. And that's like my favorite thing in the entire world. Yeah. Just spending time there. I like to hike. Hiking is like my favorite thing as like a leisure activity. That is a really enjoyable experience to me. And then with my dog especially. With the dog is really good. And then, on top of that, just going out with the family and exploring and trying new things and, working together to see what ways we can connect deeper. Yeah. Yeah. But I have a lot of interest. Like I like to study a lot of different things. So I'm always learning. Learning is a hobby for me. I don't get to do it as much as I would like these days. Yeah. But it's something that I find very exciting. I would say traveling, but we traveled so much over the last 16 months that I got more than my fair share of that. Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Okay, cool. I'm going to answer one more question that pops up that gets me excited to answer, and then we'll sign off for the day. Yeah. I'm willing to make you great digital products that focus on mechanics and heavy-duty businesses. Here's a little strategy for you, by the way. If you want to partner with somebody, make the product first and then show up and show them the product. It probably won't work on me because I'm really high up on the food chain. But if you have an influencer that you would like to nab and partner with, you can create the digital product and say, I would love to put your name on this and make any adjustments that you would feel comfortable with. What are your thoughts? So instead of pitching them an idea, showing them a result works infinitely better. And that's a little AI hack for you now. And then, by the way, if they say no, you erase their name, you go to the next person in the market and you say, hey, would you like this with your name on it? And then you will probably win by showing up with a result as opposed to an idea. Yeah. That's a little extra tactic for you. See, I would give you all these all day long, but it's funny how there's so many of them bouncing around my mind that these questions help bring them out at me. So I appreciate that. What if they steal it, right? Then you say, thank God I found out that they were a thief very early on in the process. So I no longer have to work with them again. Yeah. By the way, you show up with the product and you say, I will also do this and this and this to help you monetize it. But the product is a result. Yeah. Yeah, and it happens, but not very often. Most people are honest people. I find most people are very genuinely good people. There's a few people out there that are difficult, and they move around from time to time. But other than that, most people are pretty good. Yeah. Is it okay that you are slower than the rest? 100%. I know billionaires that started off way slower than their contemporaries, and they ended up further. In fact, because they were slow, they had to rely more on support and creating connections with other people, and that took them further. You know that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I find that. And me, I was quite studious. Like, my attitude was I can figure anything out if I looked at it and cracked it. And that was useful in the short term, but it siloed me in the long term. I had difficulty then bringing on team members and working with them and collaborating. It's still a challenge that I suffer with to this very day. So I went fast, but I didn't go as far as I could have went as a result of that. So we always look at the thing and say, what is useful about this that we can invest in the activity? And what part of this can we leave behind? Yeah, that is the rubric, to use a $50 word on you. Yeah. Yeah, and split pays, there's different various split pay options available too. We may be able to open up more no promises on that. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's a good place to break. My name is Jason Fladlien. I appreciate having spent some time with you today. It is always an honor and a blessing, and with gratitude that I share this with you. I do private coaching, but it is very expensive, so I don't feel like it doesn't feel appropriate quoting it here. I do not know when the next challenge is, but we will put that up next year. Sometime next year there will be a new challenge, and I'll see you tomorrow. We'll be doing one last session, the final session. There's no more sessions, at least not for me, because I catch a flight home the next day. But I appreciate each and every single one of you. I'll talk with you soon. Bye for now.